Well, here I am. There's barely any light. Soon I will be on the move. But for now, let's catch a glimpse of that moon. There it is. The moon. Beautiful. Very beautiful. Hey, Real Jack. How you guys doing? Hey, Bong. James Bong. What's up, man? What is up? I am on a swing. That's how I am. How are you, Bastel? Ma kore, achi, says James Bong. Things are good. I'm swinging. Hey, Josh. What's up? I hope you're enjoying your day. Good evening. 2 streams in a day. We are privileged. Hope you're well. Thanks, Don't Smurf. Well, it's only because this morning I could only go for 1 hour. And I wanted to do it for longer, but I knew that I only had an hour in the morning, and I decided to take advantage of it. And I said in the morning I'll probably go live again in the evening sometime. So I'm gonna be walking around a bit, swinging on the swings. Yeah, right on. Thank you, thank you. People in the chat, when is the last time that you swung on a swing? Let me know. You know what? Maybe I should put. Maybe if I put this on. No, it won't. Okay, that's too bad. But that's okay. I thought I could somehow reverse the flashlight, but that doesn't make sense. So yeah, it's a beautiful night. It's a beautiful full moon. I swung not but a month ago, LOL, says Jose. What time is it there? It's a little after 9 p.m. Hey MSG, how you doing? 25 years ago, but I want to now. Yeah, well, I almost never pass up a swing without swinging on it. If I have the time and if I have the inclination, and I always do have the inclination, 99% of the time, I'll stop and I'll swing. I'll go on a swing. I like swinging. Let's see. Very funny. I built a little swing and slide set 2 weeks ago, said Stone Smurf, for my son. He's terrified of it. Me and the wife have used it more than him. Yeah, that makes sense. That definitely does make sense. Hey Kyle, how you doing, my man? You remember me? Yes, I do. I do remember you. Who is it? Wait, I'm swinging. It's Dukshumatu. Yes, I do remember the name. I don't remember specific details, but yes, I do remember the name. I wonder how ancient the invention of the swing for fun is. That's a very good question. I wonder about that too. For those of you who are joining us just now, let's take a look at that full moon again. Boop. The beautiful full moon over Jerusalem. The 15th of Av. The 15th of Av is a special place, a special time. It says in the Talmud that the 2 best days Israel ever had were the Holiday of Atonement, Yom Kippurim, and the 15th of Av, which is tonight. On both of those occasions, the daughters of Jerusalem, the unmarried ones, would borrow white clothing from each other. So everybody would be, not richer nor poorer. Everybody borrows a piece of clothing, white pieces of clothing, and they go and they dance in the vineyard. And they would say, boy, or young man, lift up your eyes and see what you choose. Right? Is it wealth? Is it family? Right? Is it good genes and good breeding? Whatever it is. It's a day of matchmaking, the 15th of Av. It's also the day that the people stopped dying after 38 years, after the, right in the wilderness. They were cursed. They were cursed to continue wandering the desert, and on the 15th of Av, the curse was fulfilled. On the 15th of Av, the victims of the Roman attack against Beitar were brought to a proper burial. And it was the time when the tribe of Benjamin, after the concubine on the hill, Pilegesh Bagivah, and after the tribe of Benjamin was almost completely annihilated, it was on the 15th of Av that the tribes were allowed and it became permissible to intermarry. Something along those lines anyway. Those are a few reasons why Tu B'Av is celebrated as a day of togetherness, as a day of, I dare say, love and companionship, matchmaking. And I'm out here on the swing. I'm swinging. Okay, let's see who else is here. Stop for a second and go to the chat. Goyim Heaven, says Patrick. Okay. Was it linen or hemp? What they would borrow? All it says is klei lavan she'ulim, right? It was borrowed white clothing. Or borrowed white articles, it says, right, of clothing. I prepped the press before I put Trump back in office. You sure did, Josh. What? Had a conversation about the Holy Ghost and whether or not Hadag Nachash or Mashina is better. So, I'm sorry, you spoke about the Holy Ghost. Yes, that's right. That was our conversation on Hadag Nachash and Mashina. I said one was from more my childhood, the other one is more of my young adulthood. That's right. And we were speaking of the Holy Ghost, of Nevuach HaKodesh. Yes, yes. Is it hot outside? No, it's not hot. It's not hot. Hey, Neve. How you doing, man? Tu B'Av Sameach. It's like magnetism or electrical circuit, says Josh. What activates is kind of like what gates are open, but God can flip it, LOL, inside. Can't say that I'm following you, man. Stone Smurf has a pretty important date, it seems. Then quite a lot of important things happened on this date through the years. Yes, yes, indeed. A lot of things have happened, and today of Tetvav B'Av, right? And it's a full moon back in the Netherlands. It must have been 6 years ago. I think 6 years ago. 6 years ago, on this very night of the 15th of Av, on the full moon, that was the first of twice that I ever did the Terence McKenna hero experience, as it were. 5 grams of dried mushrooms alone in silent darkness. YouTube removed my old channel. Maybe someday I'll get all those videos and streams back. Like 500 or 600 of them. I don't know if I'll ever see them again, but one of them is me with a trip report the following day. On the day of the 15th of Av. And it was quite an experience. It was truly something special, that ritual of the 15th of Av 6 years ago. Alone in silent darkness. Do you play an instrument? I play guitar, only chords, you know, I don't shred or anything, just very, very basic guitar. What about you? What about you people in the chat? Do you play an instrument? I'd love to know. Of course, I play the underarm. Minimalist, what are you doing at this dark Jewish man? I'm swinging. I'm on a swing in a public park, and since it's late, the lights are out. That's what I'm doing, and basking in the light of the full moon. That is what I'm doing. Piano and guitar, nice. Which would you say of the two is your favorite? Which one did you start with? Probably piano. But they're both very different. The curses and the blessings, what activates, I cause the rain, aka the blessings to fall, says Josh, on the just and the unjust. Type thing people may seek how it works to control it, but can be reason to get zapped. Sorry, man, I'm just not getting you. Hey, Hayden, how you doing? Hello, Matthew Payne. Shabbat shalom to you. Gary says, watching from South London, eating a falafel and hummus wrap, a slice of Victoria sponge. So I'm assuming Victoria sponge, since you slice with a cake emoji, that it's a cake. I do not know. So what is it? No, I'm not tripping. I haven't been tripping in a while, and I hope to do so again sometime soon, you know. And as always, test your drugs, set and setting, harm reduction to the best of your ability, respect the substance, respect your body, respect your mind. and integrate, integrate, integrate. You're tripping, people. Integrate. But no, I'm not tripping right now. I'm stone cold sober at this moment on a swing around 9:20 p.m. here in Jerusalem with the beautiful full moon of the 15th of Av above me. And I didn't have the greatest evening. The day was fine. I didn't have the greatest evening, and I almost thought of not going live at all, but the show must go on. The show must go on. Not at all costs, but it must go on. So hopefully this will be able to give me some... All right, Jose says, have you tried the Terence McKenna weed dose? Be sober 2-4 weeks at least and eat 500 to 1,000 milligrams edible and dab and smoke as much as possible and meditate in the dark room. He says it turns fully psychedelic. Well, I know from experience that marijuana, right, that cannabis is a psychoactive and psychedelic plant. Fully psychedelic. It can be fully psychedelic, I think, even with lower doses, depending on your intent and depending on your set and setting, right? Also, no, I've never done that. And are you sure that it's Terence McKenna who actually fathered this method? Because I've never heard him speak, not that I'm such a maven, but I've never heard him speak about a hero dose, let's say, kind of thing of marijuana. So that's interesting. That's an interesting... I might just do that. Regular guitar type, basically 6-string bass guitar. Very good. I love a 6-string bass. 4 strings, that's the 6V4. That's basically why musicians figured out 6 and 4 out of all the options. Typically 6, 4 strings. Well, what do you mean by 6V4? In relation to what? Same soberness, I'm sorry, for day was bad. No, the day was good, the evening, Have y'all ever tried playing a 5-string banjo? I have not. I don't think I've ever played a banjo. Isn't smoking weed a sin in your faith, brother? No, it isn't. It depends on the individual, and it depends on whether it's medicinal or recreational. A lot of different things, but no, it isn't. Way, Kurz is here. What are we doing out here? We are swinging. Let's continue swinging. Whee! Night swinging, night streaming. Okay, who else is here? Whoa. RKSW is here. What's up, Hebrews and Shebrews? We're doing great, man. Happy to Bev. He was a botanist who studied shrooms. Yes. Are we talking about Terence McKenna? Yes, he was an ethnobotanist. He studied all kinds of stuff, and yeah, mushrooms as well. And shamanism and everything to do with that. But I've never heard him speak of marijuana in the sense of that type of a hero journey, as it were. Native American flute. Native American flute. Does it sound more like an Indian flute or more like an Irish flute? Where does it fall in between on the spectrum? Matthew Payne? No, just go piss, wherever. It doesn't need to be on anybody or any place. I'm Soviet Kong is here. Good to see you, man. When I was a teenager, we did a lot of LSD, but the real deal was ketamine. I've never done ketamine. You know what you were going to get every time? It's like a rapid slideshow as your thoughts wrap themselves in knots. Well, are they good knots or are they bad knots? What kind of knots are they? Because that really, really, really makes a difference. There's a big difference between good knots and bad knots when it comes to psychoactive experiences, right? Psychedelic experiences and psychoactive substances. Asshole, one-man band. I love those people. Who've got the cymbal on their foot, you've got the guitar, and you've got the harmonica holder or a kazoo. What happened that made your afternoon bad? And again, not the evening. The day and the afternoon were fine. Just now the evening, the last hour and a half, blah. So, no, nothing I want to share right now and bring you people down with. What about other drugs? What about them? Some of them I consider to be not even once. Others I consider to be maybe again in the future. Depending on everything, really. On set and setting are paramount. Right? That's what it's about. And testing your drugs. Also paramount. Harm reduction, knowing what you're doing, respecting the substance. Right? Respecting your body, respecting your mind. And that I think includes all other drugs, by and large. RKW called me a murderer. No, I've never murdered or killed anybody. I'm happy to say. He wrote Fruits of the Gods, interesting book. No, wait, are we still talking about Terence McKenna? Or are we talking about a different botanist? Sounds like a flute. Yes, but there's a higher pitch and a lower pitch, Bam's opinions. It's not just any flute. That's why I said, because an Irish one is higher, more piccolo-ish, I think, while an Indian flute is a lot lower, or at least some form of Indian flute that I've, flute that I've listened to. It's always positive and makes sense, and you remember everything perfectly. Really, that's your experience with ketamine? I like natural high from working out. Yes, I do too. I do too. It's a lot of fun. Eventually, all those endorphins, and those feel-good hormones. When I'm done, after a run, when I've just done the sprint, and I'm winding down and my heart's pounding and I'm walking and taking a sip of water, and the thought in my head is, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. That is a high in and of itself. Terence only mentioned the hero we dose once as his preferred method. Well, he mentioned it once as his preferred method? Dukshu meant, are they forbidden? Are they forbidden? Forbidden as much as anything else that might be psychoactive and might be addictive and might be potentially very life, complicating, to say the least. Cocaine is king, says Bam's opinion. Never done that. I take caffeine as a recreational from my soda, Sriracha. Hey, Sriracha, good to see you again. I haven't seen you alive in a while. Hopefully everything works out. Just swing your problems away. Yeah, I don't know if I can do that, but it's nice to be here on the swing. All plants are from Hashem, says Jose. Could a Jewish homeboy take a horse trank? I have no idea. Dushku, Matu. No idea. Yes, you're talking about Terence McKenna, okay. Look, Morty, I'm a pickle. Pickle Rick, says Gary. Scrolling down. Hang on a second. Do pull-ups and dips and you'll get fit quickly. Hey, Philonetic is here. How you doing? It's lower. If you've heard the Native American flute sound in movies, it's that one. It's an easy as a recorder to play. Well, that's great. Real Chinese were black too, says Oakwood Z60. Were they? Were they really? Evian, live young. I don't think I've ever had Evian water. I'm not sure. There are other instruments, says Josh. After thousands of years, musicians master. Got it down to 6 and 4. People may ask why typically 6 and 4. I'm showing you why after thousands of they got it down to 6 versus 4. But yes, but you were talking about a 6-string bass. You were talking about a 6-string guitar and a 4-string bass. But I'm wondering why? Why? Because there are many other string instruments that have different numbers of strings. Dipshits do dips, says Gar. Says, really? You think that dipshits do dips? Howdy, TBA. How you doing? My friend's experience as well. It's unbelievably wild, hallucinations constantly, but you can clear your mind instantly to basically normal if you want. But it can make you very clumsy. It can make you very clumsy. I'm not for wandering like LSD and mushrooms. Well, that's certainly my go-to, and I don't go to it, but when I do go to, it's those two. And I've hung out with Molly and with Mandy and with Sally. For those in the know. Chinese is ambiguous, says Philonetic. Used to be many different ethnicities. Many mysteriously disappeared. Now it's more than 90% Han. So Han is the most recent dynasty, right? Or am I mistaken? I don't know. There's no dynasty now. It's the Communist Republic. It's the Communist Party, right? But was Han the latest dynasty? Or is Han a different region? Guitar literally stands for 5 strings in Old Persian, the language it comes from. Ah, look at that. I never knew that. So guitar means 5 string, and yet the traditional guitar is 6 string. Wondering in that stuff, you're going face first down a flight of steps for sure. It's for around the pool or in a sofa. I'm a wanderer. Turn on the sun, Unc. I can't. But I am going to walk around a bit. Let's walk around a bit where there's a bit more light. Let's leave the swings. Let's leave the swings and go somewhere with a little bit more light. Let's see. Where can we find some light? There's a little bit of light right here. Should I park my ass right here? No, let's look for a little bit more light still. Let's go on the borders of the... There we go, this should be good. Let's see, if the light is here and I set this up here. Oh. Okay. What's up? There, I turned on the sun. What hour is it? It's about 9:30. The strings vibrate the air. Yes, they do. That's how it gets into our audio system. Ketamine is horse drink, not for human consumption. That's not true. Ketamine, at least at the time when I was a medic, was used in some cases to intubate. If I'm not mistaken, it was ketamine. Maybe it's something else. But I definitely know that we had ketamine in our vault. Maybe some flares will light things up if the Iranians send a few drones over that direction. Ha! I don't think so. Thank you for the reminder to pray, says SR. There's definitely a cycle on the biblical calendar, which the Jewish individuals actually follow. Yeah, it is a cycle, but I don't think that the Hebes are the only ones who follow that cyclic nature of a calendar. Ketamine is for cats too. It's used as anesthesia for humans. Yes, exactly. An antidepressant. Really? Is an antidepressant? Yeah, it's used in surgery. Right, exactly. 666. It's used in surgery all the time. Recreational, okay, destructive to lives. Yeah, just maybe. I don't know. I've never done it. Never done it. If bro is still alive walking out at like 2 a.m., some people living nearby might think he's some sort of a robber or stalker. I don't know. Well, it's not 2 a.m. It's 9:30 p.m. But okay, that's cool. Hey, Johnny's droid. These are the droids we're looking for. Thanks, man. I like your wild hair and beard, he says. Look cool here, says Claudio. Hey, Claudio. I had a guy in the reserves in my unit called Claudio. He was a funny guy. Are you going to have chips and salsa soon? No, Omar, I don't think I will. Why? Is that a traditional full moon Tu B'Av snack? 15th of Av snack? Be well, you seem fun. Thanks, Johnny. Have a good one, man. What's the temp out there? I don't know, 15, 16 degrees Celsius. Breezy. Nice and breezy. SR says it was the exact same day the hostages were freed. It was the start of the 2-year planned invasion into Israel against civilians. Wait, SR, what? I'm sorry, were we talking about that? Are you talking to someone in the chat? Oh, okay. Christians follow the Jewish calendar, but the Gregorian calendar gets in the way. Christians try to follow the Jewish one? How so? How so? I thought before the Gregorian one there was, which Roman emperor was it? Not Augustus. It wasn't the Augustine calendar. Which one was it? Before Gregory. Before Gregorian was something with a S. Never mind. Are you okay, bro? Yes, I am, Pellegrin. Are you okay? Are you okay indeed? Yes, I am okay. On the Gregorian calendar, you can't recognize this. On the biblical calendar that the Jews still follow, it can be recognized. What, the cyclic nature of things and the seasons and whatnot? I don't quite follow. Simchat Torah. Yes, Simchat Torah, that's when it happened. No, that's the proper spelling of Simchat Torah. Simchat Torah literally means the joy of Torah. It's when there are two traditions on when do you start reading the Torah over. One of them is once a year, and the other one is once every 3 years. Once a year, after the Feast of Booths, right, the Festival of Tabernacles of Sukkot, the eighth day of Assembly, Shmini Atzeret, is also the day when we restart reading the Torah, known as Simchat Torah. So the 8th day of Assembly is mentioned in the Torah. but the holiday of Simchat Torah is not. It's the same day. And in places like in the diaspora, where they have two separate holidays, you have the 8th day of assembly, and then a day later, Simchat Torah. Do you mean the Emperor Constantine? No, Bastet. Not the Emperor Constantine. The Julian calendar, that's what it was. Julius, not Augustine. Julius. The Julian calendar came before the Gregorian calendar, but from what I understood, the Julian calendar was pretty accurate insofar as the Gregorian one is concerned. The Gregorian calendar added a few things, made a few changes for the better, I think. It did a few key things, a few fundamental things, and then that's it. The Christians have been rolling with it. Sei gesund, Nazarite, and to you, Timothy, and to you. Love from India. Thank you, Anushka, Anku Sharma. Thank you very much. Hey, Badawiya is here. What's up? Schofield Bible. Dispensationalism. Look it up, says Dilo. I won't be able to write it down anywhere here now. Leave a comment with that, or somebody, one of y'all out there, leave a comment with that. I don't know if I'll remember it. Or leave a timestamp. It's now, what, 26 minutes, 30-something seconds? Maybe leave a timestamp and I'll do that. Can I convert to Judaism? Yes, you can. Outer limits? Yes, you can. Blessings from Oklahoma. I hope you and your family's doing well. Thank you, Seek Truth Out. Blessings to you from Jerusalem. Yeah, we're doing okay. Happy and healthy. Relatively speaking. Toda salam, erev tov to you. You enjoying the night? Yes, I am, Badawiya. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. This religious extremist won't look it up. No, I'm not going to look it up now. If I look it up now, then the camera goes blank, and it's going to look like it's buffering. I'm not in front of my laptop right now. I'm not at home. As for, I'm sorry, what did he call me? A religious extremist. No, I'm not a religious man, and I'm not an extremist. So, JS, unfortunately for you, those two things are blatant falsehoods. Is Egypt considered holy to the Jewish people? Perhaps parts of it, insofar as parts of it might be promised in certain borders that are set out to be, or said to be, the greater Israel, the promised Israel. But Egypt, it's holy in the sense that it is set apart. That's what holy means, right? Set apart. It's, pardon me, it's set apart, but in the negative, in the sense that the king must not lead the people back there for more horses, and it's not great to go back there, let's say. It's not recommended to go back there, and in one of the times when there is the great rebuke in the Torah, and the Torah says you will go back to Egypt, where I said that you would not return as free people, right, so to speak. You will be returned there. So it's not holy in the positive sense, let's say. Maybe it's holy and it's set apart in the negative sense. Not because Egypt is negative, not that I have anything against Egypt. We have peace with Egypt, and that's lovely. But I don't think for a Hebrew to return to Egypt might not be the greatest. I don't know. It depends. It really does go on a case-by-case basis. But is it holy? No, I don't think it is. I don't think it is holy in a positive, set-apart sort of way. I don't think it is, at least not traditionally. It was quite scary, says SR. How even though it was a celebration of peace in the conclusion of the celebration of booths, there was actually an idol raised up in the wilderness before the attack. Really? There was? I have no idea. I really don't. By the way, it says, I heard from a black Bedouin, said black Hebrews they're in Sina and black Bedouins. Well, I'm not sure what you mean. I'm sure there are black Bedouins and there are black Hebrews, so I'm not sure. D-Love says, how long were Jews actually in Israel? Jews have been in Israel in an unbroken chain of physical presence in the land for over 3,000 years. As for the exile, the first exile, they crossed over the Jordan. It was the time of Joshua, the elders who outlived Joshua, and then it was the time of judges, and then kings, and then about 500 years later, the first temple was destroyed by Babylon. Before that, the 10 kingdoms, the 10 tribes, the kingdom of Israel was kicked out by Assyria. Shortly after that, the temple was burned by Babylon in the first exile. So if you take all of that together, I would say that's, let's say, a couple of hundred years, they say, another couple of hundred years, and then kings, it's less, I don't know, 800 or 900 years, something like that. 800 or 900 years before they were kicked out for the first time. Does that make sense? Yes, I think it does. Though, I'm not sure. I'm not a researcher or an academic, and I don't have the proper dates offhand. Are you a settler? No, I'm not. I live in Jerusalem, though I wouldn't mind being a legal settler. I would not mind being a legal one. I would mind being an illegal one. Of course, there are those who say all settling is illegal. That's false, but I wouldn't want to be an illegal one. I'd want to be a legal settler. Ideally, not in a settlement that was only made legal after the fact, but one that was designated as such, either bought and paid for, or won in a war, whatever it may be. A legal settlement, an ethical, let's say, moral settlement. Some don't think such a thing exists. I disagree. So no, I'm not a settler, YGK. Sinai is Mount Sinai. Oh, okay, I see. I hear you. James says, full stop, truth. Which part, James? Which part? Babaran says, Baruch Hashem Elohim. Blessed is the name, God. Bam says, why do so many people hate the Jews? You'll have to ask them. Jew hatred is a shape-shifting phenomenon. My bad, autocorrect. Okay. Good evening, Flawed Diamonds. Seeing you twice in one day. That's lovely. Palestine existed for over 2,000 years. Yes, it's what Romans called the province of Judah, right? They called it the Roman province of Syria Palestina. Ancient Illyria existed less than 150 years. No, you're mistaken, JS. You're very much mistaken, I think. I don't know of any academic or historian that says that ancient Israel, and by ancient you mean the kingdoms before the first exile, presumably, less than 150 years continuously? Do you mean as a united, as only one kingdom before the split into the kingdom of Judah, the kingdom of Israel? Or do you mean that after 150 years they were kicked out of the land? Because there was a big stretch of time in between that, historically, though I might be wrong. Tell us about the second exile. Hi, XX. The second exile, so that depends. Some people consider it to be the exile of Greece, right? Corresponding to the four beasts in the book of Daniel, right? And so we have Babylon, we have Greece, Persia, Rome. Some say the kingdom of Ishmael later on. It's unknown what will be. But there are different ways to, let's say, enumerate the four traditional exiles. So, I'm not sure what you mean by the second exile. If you're talking about the second exile after the destruction of the second temple, and that's what you mean, the second exile after the destruction of a temple, that happened at 70 AD, right? The Roman Empire showed up and squashed the Jewish revolt, the Judean revolt, burned Jerusalem, hunted down the Jews wherever they were, pretty much, burned down the temple. Just a few days ago on the 9th of Av, or some say it was the 10th or 11th of Av, but around thereof of the 9th of Av, on the year, at the year 70 of the Christian calendar, right? 70 of the Common Era, Anno Domini, the year 70. And the exile of Edom, as it's known, the exile of Rome, is one that didn't happen right then and there where they put them all on ships and shipped them off. It happened over the course of a few hundred years. For a time, a generation or two, after the destruction of the Second Temple, there was still quite a Jewish presence here. The Bar Kokhba revolt that ended, right, when the Romans totally annihilated, they completely quelled that revolt. That was some time after the destruction of the Second Temple. And so, unlike other exiles where there was like a decisive victory for the enemy and people were exiled en masse, or like at the time of Yechoniah, right, where 10,000 of Jerusalem's finest were exiled along with the king by the king of Babylon, Nebuchadnezzar. It was a little different, this second exile, or the exile of Edom, we are currently undergoing. Hey, Gabriel 3 is here. How you doing? Scrolling down in the chat. Team Hype TV is here. Scientifically, why do Europeans not originate from that part of the earth? All right, so you're talking about, presumably you're talking about to someone else there. SR. In Israeli culture, he says, you do not elevate images of man or beast. You'll see a lot of fruit in the artwork and wagon wheels. Yeah, I mean, there is. What do you mean by elevate? Do you mean that most Israeli culture will not be man or beasts? I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true, but then again, I'm not a cultured Israeli, so I don't know what to tell you. Hey, Hiramoto is here. He says, anyone that uses religion as justification for their government's actions are blasphemous of said religion. What about, let's say, theocracies of some kinds, where the government in itself is religious? Would that not be, in that case, one and the same? That's not the case here in Israel, right? We're a Jewish democratic state, and some things more Jewish and some things more democratic. But anyone that uses religion as justification is blasphemous, but what if their government is religious? Do you understand the question? I'm curious. Jewish people are not cultured Israelis. Holy Hondas, I'm not a cultured Israeli. I didn't say that Jewish people are not or could not be. There are many cultured people. I don't consider myself to be one of them. I know what I like, but that doesn't make me cultured. So when someone tells me that we don't elevate beasts and images of men, right, people, and we go more for the still nature or nature type of stuff, I'll say, okay, maybe, I don't know, which is the truth. Babaran says, Yeshua itanu Elohim with you. Yeshua is with us, God is with you. Team Hype says, 70 AD, the Israelites forced to seek refuge in Africa. It wasn't only Africa, but yeah, Africa as well. That's why the 1588 map by Sonato labels the land of the Jews to be the middle of Africa. How curious, how interesting. Yeah, there became little enclaves, right? Is that the term, of Jews all over, the diaspora, all over the world. What can be done about Islam? Tolerance won't work, says Angel Lucira. Hi there. I don't know anything about Islam. All I would know are probably the negative things. So, you know, living here in Israel. So I don't say that I know anything about Islam. What can be done? I don't know what you mean precisely, but it seems to me from what I've seen going on in Europe and other places that letting in people, not necessarily Muslims, but if we're talking about Islam, letting people in and not having them follow and having them be people who are literally against your system, against your viewpoint, against your values to some degree, against the way that you're running things as a sovereign state, and they would want to implement Muslim rule, that's tolerance won't work there, I think. You're right. What can be done? I do not know. I think this has to do with the politicians and the decision makers. It has to do with making difficult choices and being more discerning, and I think it can be done, but I wouldn't know what to do. It's way above my pay grade, that question. Truly it is. You won't find an ancient synagogue in Africa. No, I mean, maybe you would, Gabriel. I don't know. I mean, Ethiopia might have a very ancient synagogue. Beta Yisrael were there for a very long time. So I think you would find an ancient synagogue in several African countries, but definitely in Ethiopia. Fire Starlord says, fact one that's not Israel, facts to negative is necessary for polarity. Negative is necessary for polarity. For memory, fact 3, it's not a lamb, it's a llama. Fire Starlord, maybe you're talking to someone else. I have no idea. '70 AD. Did not spread the Jews all over the world. The other tribes are... No. The Jews are not the other tribes. The other tribes are the kingdom of Israel. The Jews are the remnants of the kingdom of Judah. That's why I said Jews. If I said the people of Israel, or if I said the Hebrews, then yes, I meant the remnants of the kingdom of Judah, who made the voyage back from Babylon. They were kicked out, right, by Rome. So it did spread them all over the world, pretty much. I know the negative stuff too. I'm a veteran and I teach directly from their most cherished texts as a warning. Feels like the state has to step in. Yes, precisely. To what degree, far be it from me to know. I'm not a statesman and I don't know politics. Hey, Nadine is here. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. What's your stance on Israeli settlers in the West Bank? Zutsta says that if they are legally there, great, and if they're illegally there, they need to not be there. Kajin Entertainment says, what is all this about? It's whatever you want it to be, man. Let's talk about anything. Let's talk about everything. You should try reading the Quran once, bro. Have an open mind. Oh, I definitely will. Tuvok. Hey, I enjoyed you in Voyager. Tuvok is in Voyager, right? I think so. No, Tuvok is in... Yes. Voyager? Where's Tuvok in? Am I forgetting my Star Trek? Okay, I think he was in... not Deep Space Nine. No, Voyager. He was in Voyager. Point is, I will read the Quran once there is peace here, once there is justice here, once there is more love here, then I will turn my attention to the Quran. Let's continue. Are you a Zionist? Yes, I am. A modern-day Zionist and a biblical Zionist, but I do not excuse what many people do, or what all people do in the name of Zionism. If you do something that is immoral and reprehensible, I will say, sorry, that's not Zionism. I have the Quran. Yeah, Flawed Diamonds, have you read it? What do you think of it? I don't know, I've never read it. It was on Voyager. Okay, cool. האמת יצירה, יציאה לאור, אלוהים יודע. עשו תשובה עכשיו אחים. So truth will out. Elohim knows. Repent now, or return now, brothers. That's what it says in the Hebrewish. Man, are we getting fast and loose with historical facts and populations in here now. Zutza says, do you think the Israeli government military commit crimes against the Palestinian people every day? Individual soldiers might. The government and the military as such, as a doctrine and as intent? No, I don't think so. I think that Israel is fighting a defensive war against the forces of darkness that are coming to extinguish every life and snuff out Israel and wipe it off the map. But are there individual homicidal, genocidal, psychopathic people in politics, in government, in the administration, in the army? Yes. If they are committing crimes, they should be brought to justice and stand trial and go to prison or worse for their crimes. Holy Honda says, technically you don't really know, these are just your beliefs, host. Yes, that is correct, I do not know. That is technically and practically. That is correct. Shem was dark and comely. Ham was dark as the raven, he's supposedly the president of all dark races. Yes, so they say. But Shem is his brother, who is also dark-skinned. Yeah? People have a lot of things going on about the curse of Ham, the content of melanin in people's skin. They seem to attribute great significance to how white or dark or brown or I don't know what, or yellow or pink or blue someone's skin is. I honestly don't understand it. I do not understand it. Saucy says, Ashkenazi DNA is overwhelmingly not from the Levant. That's not true. Overwhelmingly, I disagree. It's not overwhelmingly not from the Levant. But in Ashkenaz, in the lands of Ashkenaz, sure, many converts joined the fold. There were many pogroms and many persecutions and many banishments, well, so to speak, not many, but banishments and expulsions. And people over the years, right, became lessened, but converts joined the fold, and that would enrich the genetic pool. So it doesn't really matter if Ashkenazi DNA is from the Levant or not. If they are Ashkenazi Jews, they cling to the Hebrew tribes through their affiliation with the tribe of Judah, or the kingdom of Judah, whether they are biological Jews who hail from Judea, or whose ancestors hail from Judea, or converts that fuse themselves to the people of Judea, of the kingdom, and of the tribes. What seems to be the problem there? Those at the high end rarely have 10 PCT mixed in from a Sephardic or mix ancestor. Okay, and what are you trying to say, man? I'm really asking, Saucy. What does that mean? What does it actually mean? Do you support Netanyahu? No, I do not. He needs to go. You don't mess with the Zohan. No, you don't. Does Netanyahu support me, says Josh. A very good question. They're just mad a lot of Jews are white. Yes, I know they are. Let them be mad. Who gives a crap what people think about someone's skin color? It's such an asinine argument from any point of view, by any measure. Measuring anything other than maybe a person's skin color by their skin color is just, you might as well do it with the color of their eyes. What's the difference? SR says, many people in Gaza cry out against using children as shields by their Hamas government. They want to be freed from their own government. Yes, they do. I have difficulties to believe that many in Gaza do this, because maybe they do it privately. I don't know if they do it publicly. I haven't seen, nor do I mean, I don't follow the news unless there's like an active war going on and missiles coming in, and rockets. But I would think that Hamas would crush such a crying out very swiftly and very cruelly. That is their way. Hey, Bob Dylan is in the house. How you doing, Mr. Zimmerman? Hebrews aren't and never were from Africa. I mean, Roslyn, it could be that Hebrews, as far as humans are concerned, if you consider Africa to be the cradle of humanity, then something at some point, the ancestors of the Hebrews were there. Answer me, says Omar Al-Kalali. Hey, I've seen you here before. Nice to see you again. Answer you about what? Just put the fries in the bag, bro, says Shadowband. Let's see, I'll scroll up to see what Omar said. Omar, I'm scrolling up. I can't see what you said. Maybe I see a few things were. I see a few things. No, I don't see it, man, because it was held by YouTube. I have no idea what it is. TRR says, "Is this your job? How do I get this job?" No, I'm a writer. That's what I do for a living. I write. I'm a man of words, and I go live daily or semi-daily. So it's something I do on the side. Jews stole Jerusalem from the Yevusim, the Jebusites. Yes, they did. They didn't steal it. They took it over. Sadlush. Yes, that's right. David, took Yevus. What would stop Hebrews from being in Africa? I don't know, Richard Warner. Ask the one who said it. You probably are. You probably are doing that. Ethiopian Jews from Africa. Yes, that is correct. And that's what I said before. Beta Israel. And they probably have some ancient synagogues there too. Holly Hundos, what kind of vehicle do you drive or own? I do have a license, but I don't drive, and I have never owned a car. And I learned how to drive a stick. I wouldn't be able to do it well. I took my final test, my road test I did on an automatic, but I took some lessons on a standard gear shift. You like BB? No, I don't, Dr. Hoffman. No, I don't. Do you think the Ark is still on Earth? Yes, Cruz. I think it's below Jerusalem somewhere. That's what I would think, but I have no idea. Ironically, there is no difference between measuring people by the color of their eyes, because eye color is determined by melanin. The same thing as skin color, it's just different levels. Precisely. That's what What did Haile Selassie, right, His Imperial Majesty, what did he say? He said, until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes, everywhere is war. I love my baby, he is my son. That's nice, Josh. I love my babies too. Israel has good public transport? Sometimes. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it can really suck, Rayado. It's good to see you again. If I didn't say hello, hi, Rayado. The brightest of Canaan was given to Jacob's son, says Jose. What do you mean? I'm not sure what you mean. Do you like Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi, says Michael? I haven't watched enough of his stuff. I haven't watched enough of his lectures, sermons, classes, lessons, or debates to really have an opinion. But he's an Orthodox rabbi, from what I've gathered, from Israel, who is now in the States, I think, or there's some affiliation with Israel anyway. As an Orthodox rabbi, there are many things on which I will agree with him, and there are some things on which I will disagree with him. Do I like him? Or what was the question? The question was, I'm sorry, was the question, do I like him? Oh, and it's gone. He retracted it? Okay. You're the fake Jew, says Millikan. Yeah, you're right. Born to Hebrew parents, in the Hebrew land, speaking Hebrew, trying to follow the Torah and the commandments, observing the holidays, circumcised. Yeah, that's right, I'm a fake Jew. Yeah, what is it exactly that makes me fake? Let me guess, it's the bridge of my nose, isn't it? Are you serious? A real wizard? No, gaming nutter, I am a wizard's apprentice. I am not a wizard yet. What do you think about the Bolsheviks, says Plasmavision? I don't know enough about the revolution. I don't know enough about what they were trying to implement and what they did implement at the time, before the revolution. So, I can't really tell you. I don't know enough about it to have an opinion as in I think X or I think Y. I learned about the Bolsheviks and the revolution back in high school. And I'm sorry to say I did not retain almost any of the information. Almost any of it. So I don't know what to think. People, what do you think of the Bolsheviks? You tell me. Scrolling down. Do you like turnips? No, not especially, but I haven't given them enough of a shot. I'm pretty sure this guy's a fake Jew, says Richard Warner. Yeah, maybe, you know, people will say I'm fake. He or she are not the first one. Michael says, oh, wait, sorry, the chat just jumped. Oh, the chat just jumped. Sorry, man. Michael says, his parents are born in Israel. Rabbi Yosef Mizrahi is Sephardic, Turkish, Jewish. The question was, yes, do you like him? Okay, so yeah, so I don't like him or dislike him. There will be things on which I agree with him. There will be things on which I disagree with him. How can you be a fake Jew, says Captain Evil Greasy John. You'll have to ask those who cast that aspersion at people whom they deem to be fake. I have no idea. However, the Hebrew language the ancient Paleo-Hebrew language is quite beautiful. Look up a video on the first word in Genesis broken down in Paleo-Hebrew. Yes, I have. I mean, I've studied a bit of Paleo-Hebrew. I can't fluently write or read it, but I have done my studies on it. Again, back in the day. It's been a long time since I've delved, even on the surface level again, into Paleo-Hebrew. אתה לא יודע לדבר עברית כל כך טוב. אתה לא יודע, that is, you don't know. Did you mean אני לא יודע? Or אתה לא יודע? Hey man, I'm new to voodoo magic and I'm scared to use my face because it's my first time. Can you stay still please so I can use your face? Sure thing, Michael, hang on. There, that ought to be enough. Am I invisible, DZ? No, you're not invisible. Can you see my texts? I see it now, but I'm going up and down in the chat, Omar, so I'm sure I can see it, but I don't know what you said before. Flawed Diamonds, I'm going to have to get the Torah. It's quite a book. It's quite a book. Do you hate? No, I do not hate Omar. I try not to hate anybody or anything. I try. Rel says, what do you think of the Israeli geneticist Iran al-Haik theory that Ashkenazi Jews originate from ancient Khazarian Empire? That it could very well be the case, but the ancient Khazarian Empire or kingdom converted, according to tradition, making them all, whether it's the Khazar theory that's been debunked by many people on many different occasions, in many different ways, it's been debunked, but if we go with the theory of Khuzar and of the kingdom of Khuzar and the king of Khuzar converting, then they are de facto 100% Jews as of that conversion. Their progeny will be biologically Jewish by virtue of them being converts. Ergo, it makes no difference if they come from the ancient kingdom or empire of Khuzar or if they come from the ancient kingdom of wherever. It doesn't matter where they come from. If they converted, their progeny is biologically Jewish. That's the way it goes. I said quite a lot, but I'll sum it up. Do you think that as a Jew, says DZ, you must support the state of Israel? No, you don't have to support the state of Israel. Are you just biased? What do you mean? Do you mean in this war? In this war, just because you're Jewish, you don't have to support Israel? Because you're anti-terrorism, if you are anti-terrorism, is why you would support Israel. Because Israel is a Jewish democratic state, while the terrorist regimes here are bloodthirsty, warmongering, religious extremists who revel in death. That is why you would want to support Israel in this particular war, because today it's us and tomorrow it's at your doorstep. As for supporting Israel just from the onset and from the get-go, no. Jews or non-Jews, you don't have to support Israel. If you don't deem Israel to be worthy of your support as a state, as a sovereign nation, why would you support it? Why would you support it? No, I don't think so. You're the terrorist, says Ragamuffin. Really? How curious that we have peace with Jordan, we have peace with Egypt, we won it in wars that we didn't start, gave back Sinai, and offered Egypt Gaza at the peace accords, gave the Jordanians back the Temple Mount, left Gaza in the year 2005, left southern Lebanon in 2000. We were there because there were terrorists there who were slaughtering us. We put many peace agreements on the table. We gave, humanitarian aid and designated humanitarian sections and have given people warnings before bombing them in media, radio, SMSs, right, text messages, leaflets from the ground, leaflets falling on the ground, dropped mini bombs that make an explosion of audio, but nothing is actually affected, so people don't have to get out. Yeah, we're the terrorists. Sure thing. How dumb can people be? And I say dumb, I'm dumb too, but I'm not broadcasting my asinine views like you are with such confidence. Jordan get water and electricity from Israel, says Niv. Listen to this lying Jew, really ragamuffin, prove me wrong. Everything I said up until now is pretty accurate, so prove me wrong by all means. Fact check me, challenge me, push back against me, and if I stand corrected and I say, you know what, I was wrong, you were right, I would be that much less ignorant and wiser for the experience. So by all means, yes. How is Israel the terrorists? What? Because there are a handful of people in the army and a handful of people in parliament who actually are genocidal, psychopathic, homicidal people? I don't want them to be there. They should not be there. They belong in prison if they are actually carrying out the crimes. So, whereas we see that the Palestinian Authority, for instance, encourages terrorism and benefits the families of terrorists financially on a tier-based thing based on how many people they kill. We have Hamas and Fatah, the Al-Aqsa Brigade in Gaza. Right now, Hamas is in control because they slaughtered their opposition after they were democratically elected. And they are a death cult. In their original charter, it doesn't say anything about a Palestinian state. All it says is that Israel will exist until Islam obliterates it. They don't want peace or prosperity. They took all of their population's aid money. They grew fat and happy and rich off of the humanitarian aid. That's pretty much what they're about there. So how is it exactly that Israel is the terrorist? Why? Because we are winning a war? We're not allowed? Some people say we're not allowed. And no, nobody wins a war. Everybody loses in war. Everybody loses in a war. I am at the W. Oh, M at the W. Do you think people will continue to just hate all Jews, or do you think it will slowly go away? I mean, it will go away in the sense that there will be a time when there won't be any more hate, and there will be love, and there will be embracing, and there will be fellowship. There will be togetherness, there will be unity, there will be justice and love and peace that will reign over all creation. How that will come about or when, that's way above my pay grade, I have no idea. I don't know. No Jews, no news, says Real Jack Matt. Yep. That is indeed true, insofar as I can tell. I'm a Jew too. Hi Yoka, how you doing? Quit saying people hate Jews, says Black, because I am one of those people who do not hate them at all. Well, you hear him, chat? Don't say that people hate Jews. What do you think about Indians supporting Israel, says Anit, that they are people from India who support Israel? That's what I have to say about them. I mean, Israel appreciates the support. And I know that your prime minister or president, who was it, of India, the president, showed up here a few months ago, had a powwow with Bibi. I don't remember when he was here, nor do I remember his name, unfortunately. Won't come now, says the Lolo. I think we will see another major pogrom soon. The signs are all there. Maybe. It all depends on us, right? If we keep the Torah, if we keep the commandments, if we cleave to the covenant, then we will be able to live here, survive here, and thrive here, and really prosper alongside our neighbors, God willing, in peace and in love and in justice and in righteousness. And if it comes to pass that we break the covenant, then we will be kicked out again, just like before, and there will be another persecution, there will be another exile. Let's hope that does not come to pass. I'm confused on which Jews to hate now. The in-Jews of the American plains, the Rhodesian Jews, or the Jew craftsmen of Easter Island. I've learned a lot in chat today. Well, a lot going on in the chat that I'm not seeing because I address something here and then I scroll down. But there's apparently a lot going on, and it's wonderful that there's a good dialogue going on in the chat. I got a Jew friend and he really nice. I wanted to say sorry for maybe too hard comments. I don't quite get it, but okay. DZ says the pogroms are happening as we speak by the settlers against the Palestinians. Our boy is just blind. No, I'm not blind. I know that there are people who are unprovoked. People who are attacking other people unprovoked. I'm against that. I know that there are people who are committing crimes against people who didn't do anything wrong to them personally. I'm against that. I know that there are people who do terrible things and who slap the label of Zionism on it and claim now it's kosher, and I'm against that too. I'm not blind. You are mistaken. What's your opinion on Trump hitting the lowest polls in American history? I don't know anything about politics or American history or about Trump. So my opinion, if he is indeed the lowest in polls ever, I'm assuming that, what does it matter? Because he already is serving his second term. Obviously, wouldn't that be obvious then that he would be lowest in the polls? He's not even a viable candidate to run. Although, unless they change things in the states, people let me know. Unless they change things and you have now a third or fourth term that you can run for and be elected into office, right, to serve, I think it's only 2 terms. They don't have to be sequential, but I think it's up to 2 terms and that's it, right? With Trump it wasn't sequential. He has the lowest approval rate. Well, I'll tell you. The lowest approval, he said something about being the president of peace. He also, unfortunately, said something about being the president that won't drag the U.S. into war. The thing is that sometimes peace, unfortunately, despite people say it's like fucking for virginity, yes, sometimes you need to win a war in order for there to bring peace. We see this in the Bible as well. Look at the book of Judges and how that went down. And, to secure peace is to prepare for war, parabellum. So, there is that idea of might not necessarily makes right, but sometimes might makes peace. If only because the balance of powers is maintained to the degree that it is. Not necessarily a proper balance, but a balance that sustains peace. In other words, you can say that if, in this war, if Hamas had the upper hand, they would slaughter all of Israel and kick the Jews out. The ones that would not be dead. Or convert them on, do whatever, I don't know. Yet if Israel had the upper hand and was allowed to win a war, we would have peace, God willing. Though I don't speak in absolutes here. It really goes on a case-by-case basis. But I do believe that sometimes a war can bring long-lasting peace. DZ says, what is the difference between Hamas versus IDF and Bar Kokhba versus Romans? Okay. The difference is that the Romans took over and renamed the province of Judah, Syria, Palestina. IDF withdrew, and Israel withdrew from Gaza in 2005. The Judean plains and the kingdom of Judah was still under the thumb of the Romans. Gaza was no longer under the thumb of Israel. Israel withdrew its forces and its civilians and uprooted them and kicked them out of their homes in 2005 in the summer. So that is the major difference. Also, IDF is the Israeli Defense Forces, whereas Rome was an empire that was colonizing. What did they call it? They called it the province, the Roman province. This is not a Jewish province. This is the Jewish homeland. Not only the Jews belong here, of course. Others belong here too. But undoubtedly, historically, it is the Jewish homeland, whereas Rome is the Roman homeland. And if you're looking at Hamas and you want to give them a home, by all means. The Palestinian leadership was offered Gaza and the West Bank and East Jerusalem as a capital a few times, and they rejected it. Hamas was voted democratically in 2006 by the people of Gaza, and they could have established a state, and they could have turned Gaza into a paradise. Bar Kokhba and the Judeans did not have that option. That would be the major difference that comes into my head. Let's continue, scrolling down in the chat. What makes you weird is that you are a grown man, but you need a book to guide you through life. That is not true. I don't need a book. I wholeheartedly choose the Torah. I don't feel I need the Torah in that sense. I wholeheartedly chose the Torah. I could have turned my back on it. Easily. Easily. That's not my path. That is not what I was called for. That is not what I was called towards. Your consciousness is not enough guidance for you as an adult. That's also not exactly true, but okay. Sad and pathetic as all cults. I am sad and I am pathetic, I'll give you that. But I don't think it's for the reasons that you specified here. I made a decision wholeheartedly, knowing all of the pitfalls of cultish religious behavior, as it were, or the idea of organized religion as an opiate of the masses, a means of control, a means of influence, power, authority, wealth, corruption. I knew all that going in, and nevertheless, I chose the Hebrew faith. I choose the Hebrew covenant. I was born into it and indoctrinated into it, but I also chose it later in life wholeheartedly. And so, you can call me sad and pathetic, and definitely I am sad and pathetic, but not for those particular reasons. So, okay, that's cool. You can still think whatever you think, it's all good. Richard says, Duma, you can't get past information communicated from a book? SR says, Israel spent money to develop a way to protect themselves and it worked. They have the dome. Yes, this is true. Richtofen says, Jews don't believe in idol worship. Yes, not for us. For other people, they can do whatever they want, you know. But yes, that's the case. We seem... the Torah says, right, to not have idol worship, and at the beginning of the Second Temple era, the inclination to worship false deities was lifted out of Israel. The prophet Zechariah ben Iddo took care of that, or was one of the people who took care of that. You seem a good person. Hey, fan-made music videos. Individually, as someone who's very skeptical of Judaism. Okay, cool. It's good to be skeptical. What's up, dude? Hey, Patty. Where is grandfather from? From the States, from the United States of America. Fighter cat. My family comes from Judea. They were exiled to Europe. They were then, they moved to the States and they came back to Judea. And here I am. That was our coming full circle over a couple of thousand years. What about invasion of West Bank? Once again, there is no invasion of West Bank, Jazeel. There are people who are illegally occupying places there and trying to make establishments there, and I'm not for that. I'm for legal settlements and not illegal ones. If there are legal ones, then that's not okay, and I've said that even in this very stream. You're not the first one to ask me about it ever, and not even in this live stream. So there is no invasion of West Bank. That's C territory. That's A territory, meaning not being invaded by Israel. What's your vision of a legal settlement? I'm not sure what you mean by vision. If you mean version, it changes on a case-by-case basis. Settlement by settlement. So you'll have to give me the scenario. You'll have to give me the scenario, and then I'll be able to tell you is it legal or not legal. I'll tell you. Primarily, it has to do with the lines of 1967. That is when, right, that is when the East Jerusalem and West Jerusalem were unified, and it has to do with that, right? It has to do with the West Bank of the Jordan being taken away from the Jordan, from the Jordanians. They ruled from 1948 till 1967, and they could have established a Palestinian state at any time during that time, but they annexed the land, if I'm not mistaken, right? And we saw what happened there with Black September and so on. But yeah, it's a case-by-case basis for me. Indoctrination and choosing can't go together. You don't choose to believe in something, you are either convinced, persuaded by it, or not. Believing in an imaginary dictator isn't a choice. Nice dodge. First of all, screw you. I'm not trying to dodge anything. We're having a conversation. Dodge. Second of all, no, you are mistaken. You're definitely mistaken. As far as I'm concerned, just for me personally, it could be that you are right about every other person on the face of the planet. When it comes to me, since you're not in my head and you have not gone through my experiences, you don't know. That's it. That's literally what it comes down to. It's like, are you me? No? Then okay. You're allowed to think that about everyone else and not about me. I'm very solipsistic in that sense. I'm the unique one. I alone, right? That whole bullshit. But let's see. Let's go through this again. Indoctrination and choosing can't go together. It can, because I was indoctrinated as a kid, and when I was a teenager, I decided to investigate this religion that I was brought up in, as if I don't know it from scratch, so to speak. And some years later, after thorough investigation, I decided, yes, this is something I want to do. Yes, this is something I want to pursue. You don't choose to believe in something, you are either convinced, persuaded by it, or not. So that's the thing. I chose to believe and to go with the faith and the traditions of my ancestors and with the book of the Torah. And then a few years later, I was persuaded, right? And there, when I was my investigation, I think, started at around 14, 15. At age 19, when I was in yeshiva, a few years after choosing and being skeptical, and I'm still skeptical. The point is, it went together for me because then eventually I was convinced, so to speak. So there was a point where I was indoctrinated into the modern Orthodox faith here in Jerusalem, and then a point of questioning and being skeptical and investigation, and then a point of persuasion based on both, I suppose. Based on the indoctrination, because I can't completely separate myself from it. It's things I learned as a boy, right? As a very young boy and as a very young child. Those things are imprinted, for better or worse. So I'm not going to say that I'm psychologically unique and it's 100%. No, there's no 100% anything. I don't think the indoctrination was 100% because I grew up with hippy-dippy religious parents from New York. And I don't think the choosing was 100% in that sense either because of that indoctrination. The convince part of it and the persuasion part of it, that's when that happened when I was like 18, 19. As for an imaginary dictator, that is not how I conceptualize the divine revelation, but it's not a choice. Okay, I don't conceptualize God as an imaginary dictator. That's not the revelation that I am perceiving for me personally, so it's not a dodge, that's simply what I think. Tell me, people, am I making any sense? I know it's things that are not made to make sense, but at least in my speech, am I able to be coherent enough to convey what I'm trying to convey? I don't know. You tell me. Let's see. My dude, what's the book say about gambling? Hey, so-so. Which book? Which one? The book? The book doesn't say anything about gambling. The Talmud, right, the oral traditions written down, they do mention gambling. And that it's not a good thing. You can be 100% gay. Yes, you could, Nick S. Yes, you could. I don't speak in absolutes. I think that we have masculine and feminine inside of us, and I think sometimes we are more masculine, sometimes we are more feminine. And in that sense, there are those who are on one end or the other of the spectrum, but those are the extremes. It's a lot more of a bell curve. DZ says, since you're ignoring my other inputs, no, my man, I'm not ignoring you. I'm scrolling down and then I'm addressing whatever is there. Please don't take offense. Don't think I'm ignoring you. Don't think I'm filtering you. Don't think I'm banning you. Don't think I'm censoring you. There are no timeouts here. There are no mods. There are no bans. There's no censorship other than the most minimal YouTube censorship that needs to be in order for the channel to actually be. So please, when you're saying you're ignoring my other inputs, it seems that you think that you're the only one here, but it's over 70 people right now in the chat. You're not the only one. Here's the question. Is it kosher to invoke Avodah Zarah to judge between two Hashem worshippers, both Abrahamite and blessed by him? To invoke Avodah Zarah? I don't think that's... If what you're asking is it kosher to worship falsely? What do you mean by, is it kosher to worship Avodah Zarah? To judge between two Hashem worshippers? I would have to say no, it's not kosher. No, I don't think it's okay. No, I don't think it's okay. I think you need to invoke the proper Hebrew revelation as it's brought down in the Torah. 70 names to Jerusalem. Yes, that is correct. Hey, Shai Milman is here. You think there's a link between rise of anti-Semitism and big wars? By the way, you can play Rafiki in the real Lion King. Thank you, I appreciate that. He's a mandrill, right? Is that what he is? Double tap says flawed diamonds. Thanks, I appreciate that. Do I think there is a link? No, I think big wars are always on the cusp of happening. Anti-Semitism, Jew hatred is also always on the cusp of happening. If there is no big war, there might be one soon. If there is no Jew hatred, it will be probably soon. It's always on the cusp. I don't think there is a link between that. There is the idea of the Hebrew people affecting themselves and the goings-on in Jerusalem and Israel affecting the world, but no, I don't think so. I think big wars are always a thing, and Jew hatred is always a thing. Can you rub your hands? Sure thing, Beat. I'll do the happy merchant for you. Hang on, I'll get into profile. Yeah, oh, I hear ya. Okay. Hey, Anonymous is here. Good to see you, brother. JK is here. Let's continue. First homeless Jew. No, Stink Detective. You've been here before. Or was, no, or am I thinking of Stinky Farter? No, Stink Detective. I don't know if you've been here before. Hello, Stink Detective. Boy, do I have a few cases for you. Have you heard of Kahanism, and what's your opinion of it if so? So Kahanism is the idea of Rabbi Meir Kahana. Rabbi Meir Kahana was very, very militant in his views. His followers, the Kahanists, right, the people of Kahanachai, the people of Kach, the party, the political party that he was either the head of or wanted to be the head of, or his followers had established, one of those, was made illegal. It could not vote. The courts ruled that it is an illegal party because of its views or because of its platform being illegal. Something going against the laws of Israel in some way caused it to be tossed out, and it is illegal. I think it is one of the first terrorist organizations after the establishment of the State of Israel. Obviously, the terrorist organizations that existed here, Etzel, Lehi, Haganah, and so on, they became the IDF, right? And then they were made illegal. After that, there is Jewish terrorism, very, very small amount, but it is here. And Kahanachai, was one of them, they say. So the party was not allowed to run. I've heard of Kahanism. My opinion on it is that I don't think I agree with most of what Rabbi Meir Kahana has said that I've heard, but I don't know enough about him. I have not listened to enough of his lectures, speeches, lessons, sermons in order to discern. But from the things that I have heard him say, I would think that mostly I would disagree with him, but on some things I definitely would agree with him, and that is my opinion. Can't give you anything too detailed, unfortunately. Hey, Peter Paul is here. Do you think we would all live better lives if people focused more on what unites them instead of what divides them? I think that yes, focus. That doesn't mean that you can't have division, but I think the focus should be on the unity. You can still have division and know that you are, let's say, for all intents and purposes, all the same eventually, ultimately. The things that divide us should not cause us to forget about that which unites us. I mean, what did Clinton say, right? There isn't anything wrong with America that can't be fixed by what is right about America. Something like that. In the very same way, the division should not outweigh the unity. Let's put it that way. I think that would be good. But I don't know. Shai says, you think people are deeply lonely and have a lack of love in their hearts, so they cover it up with a meaningful mission based on their tribe and nationality? I think it's sad. Okay, Shai, I think you're not talking to me. I think you're talking to someone else. Thank you for answering. Sure thing, fan-made. Sure thing. DZ says, is it kosher that Israelites asking the Avodah Zarah nations to judge between them and their cousins Arab Muslims? Oh. Well, look, there can definitely be justice and no shortage of righteousness and grace in places that worship false gods, false as far as the Hebrews, their actual gods, right? False gods for the Hebrews, foreign deities for the Hebrews, but not for them. I think that halacha might disagree with me, but so is it kosher? Not halachically, probably not halachically. Probably, I don't know. But is it something that is kosher, let's say, as far as justice is concerned? Yes. To bring about an outside, someone who's disconnected, as let's say somebody who's impartial, that could be beneficial. Halakhically speaking, you're not allowed to go to those courts. You're supposed to go to a Hebrew rabbinic court, let's say. And I think that also might apply on a larger scale. And so it might not be halachically kosher to go and invoke and to ask the nations to judge. But I think that might be a good thing in some cases. Yeah. Pardon me. Do you have any published work? No, I don't. Nothing that I have published yet. Not in prose form, not in poetry, and not in screenwriting, right? I haven't had anything produced. I have read poetry on stage. I've read poetry on the radio. I did slam poetry on stage. And every now and then I'll send out a script to someone who's looking. Nothing yet. But in my copywriting career and my career as an editor, as a blogger, as a creative writer, and somebody who's in marketing, many things that I have written, either ghostwriting for others or on different websites, many things in the world of e-commerce, e-books and such, I have written. So I do have published work, but not under my name, since I'm simply a hired gun working for an agency or freelancing or something like that. Can I pray for your good health as a Christian? Disdroid says. Hi, Disdroid. Why even ask that question? Prayer is the spontaneous calling out to the divine revelation. It doesn't matter if you're Christian or not. And if you're praying for someone's good health, I think that shows, well, maybe depending on the case, but I think it might show good character and a benevolent spirit. So, yeah, you can pray. Why would you even ask that question? He's gonna copy paste again, says FanMade. Alright, apparently something's going on in the chat. Hey Robbie, yo, how you doing? What's your stage name? Do you mean my my stage name when I was reading poetry on stage was Jonah Brood. That was my stage name. That was my slam poet name. Because I'm a brooding Jonah. I know this is woohoo, says Patricia. I don't mean to step on anyone's toes, but this is a spiritual war. It is no joke. I agree. It's also a spiritual war. Vigil, are you going to answer, says FanMade. Oh, so you're going on between... Hey, Vigil, I don't know if I saw you in this live stream. Hi, hello. Leave Al-Aqsa Mosque alone. Heathens trying to bring back the Antichrist, says MKX215. Who is going after the Al-Aqsa Mosque? I'm curious. Huh. Morrow says only God is allowed to take life and give life. I disagree on that. I mean, ideally, you're 100% correct. Edenically, in the sense of the Edenic mind state, yes, you are 100% correct on that. But that's not the way that reality has unfolded. And it's not the way that life has become. So I think that initially, yes, it's God who's allowed to take a life and give it. But I think that it's become also a human thing to give and take lives. Are you trying to be politically correct when you say false gods for the Hebrews but true gods for them? No. I believe that for them they are those actual gods, and they're only forbidden for me as a Hebrew person, right? Same as the pantheon of Greek gods and Roman gods, Hindu gods, Canaanite gods, Mesopotamian gods. Those were all actual deities as far as they were concerned. And when the Hebrew people took on worship of the one Hebrew God, they said, okay, all of those exist. We acknowledge that. They're simply not our gods. And the different attributes that they are attributed to, and the different revelations that they are associated with, we say they are revelations of one God. So it's not me being politically correct. I actually do think this. There's only that Echad Eloha, and you believe it with all your heart, so what gives? Yes. But I also believe that I don't know the nature of God. All I know is how God reveals himself to me. The revelation of God is multiplicitous? What's the word I'm looking for? Yes, is that a word? Anyway. And the emanations are many and varied. And some people call those emanations, call those revelations, gods or goddesses in and of themselves. That is simply not the way, and it says this in the Torah. It says this in the book of Deuteronomy. You have Adonai. The rest of the other nations, they have the sun, the moon, the stars, whatever deities they have, whatever creatures that are on the earth that they may worship. That is not your lot in life, children of Israel. That is their lot. It's not a question of higher, lower, better, worse. There's only this, there's only that. For the Hebrews, there's only the one Hebrew God. For other nations, they have a whole polytheistic pantheon of deities. Duma says, individuals that believe in divine commandments and divine deities have a mental disorder called religious psychosis, which happens due to indoctrination. These individuals need psychiatric help. Okay, so according to you, if it's indoctrination, everybody that has ever gone from being completely irreligious and secular, or dare I say even atheist, a non-believer, and then became later on a believer in something, each and every one of them did not discover anything about themselves. It was just a psychosis and a mental disorder that flared up. There is absolutely no truth to somebody saying, I have had an epiphany, something has happened in my life, smaller or greater, that has caused me to reevaluate my life and to look at the world through a different lens, to wear different spectacles and to understand different things, to come to conclusions about the nature of us as human beings, our awareness, our consciousness, our capacity for benevolence and malevolence alike, and that this has steered me towards belief in a creator in the very same way that this park that I'm in has different things in that might, have creators and factories that made them. I don't understand how you can make such a sweeping and absolute statement. I'm very curious about that. Can you answer some of my questions? Hi, Omar Al-Kalali. Ironically, I'm seeing this now. I will if your name comes up and I see a question. I won't be hiding from you. I can see that you're going back and forth with people in the chat from what they're saying, because I see your name right with the @ and your username, so I'm assuming that you're going back and forth there. And I don't know if you're right now talking to me or someone else in the chat. If you are talking to me, if I get to your question, if I scroll down and your question is there, I'll address it. Otherwise, I do not know. Dumandani is claiming most of the human population throughout history and up until today is in a serious and dangerous psychosis. How the hell did we survive and make this long? Yeah, I agree. Hey, Polo, 1994. Standard diagnostic criteria for mental health conditions explicitly state that a belief cannot be classified as a delusion or psychosis if it is widely shared within a person's culture, subculture. There you go. Someone who is much more knowledgeable in this than me. There you go. Thank you, Polo. Don't bother with the chat. I'm interested in what you have to say. Thanks, 12-ounce ghost. Ounce, right? OZ? Yes. Sov says, a true God would have no need to interfere with the acts of man, so embrace the idol. That's nice. Let's continue. Scrolling down. A lot of messages are held for review. People, I'm sorry if you're not getting through. YouTube is censoring things. So DZ says, I'm sorry, brother, but you make it sound as if all other gods are true. Yes, they are true. You can see this across the Torah and in the Bible, that other deities do exist. It's simply not our path. It's not our way. That's all. That Yod-Heh Vav-Heh is just your God. Excuse me, but every other worshipped entity is a false god to them and to you. Okay. Listen. We don't have to think the same. We don't have to think. You can feel free to disagree. I say there is one Hebrew God revealed in many, right, in the 10 Sfirot. Other people say, right, no, there's a God of thunder, and there's a God of war, and there's a goddess of love, and there's a God of wine, and there's a God of this and a God of that. People populated these pantheons with their inner world. And they anthropomorphize these deities. They have wars and love affairs happen between them, and relationships between fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, and cheaters and cheaties. And there is a kind of human projection thing. They took the natural world and they turned it into gods. They took their inner world of imagination and they turned it into gods. They took inclinations and they took feelings and emotions and states of being, aspirations, and they turned them into gods. I think they can be, for those who worship them, just as true. But that's just my opinion. You don't have to agree. Where are you at? It looks cool. I'm in my neighborhood in Jerusalem. I just had a divine revelation, says I'm Soviet Kong. Someone believing in one faith doesn't diminish and shouldn't affect your personal beliefs negatively. This angel just revealed this great revelation to me. Swear. Duncan Raybell says, all things are emanations of the one who created everything. It's too much for our little minds to wrap around. Treating each other with love regardless is most important. Yes, I concur. I concur. I do. That's a lovely way to put it. I thank you, Raybell. I thank you for phrasing it like that. That's nice. Made planets into gods that have gravitational influence on us, so says. This droid says, God bless you and your family. Thank you, and yours. Blessings from Jerusalem. 12-ounce Go says, yes. Shai says, I was addressing you in that comment. You think people are deeply lonely and have a lack of love in their hearts, so they cover it up with a meaningful mission based on their tribe and nationality? I think that might be something that would get people to cling to something greater than themselves, tribe, nationality. I don't think it's the only impetus towards faith. I don't think it's the only... let's put it this way. If you agree that it's a meaningful mission, then why would that simply be a cover-up? You see what I'm saying? If anything, having a meaningful mission when you're feeling lonely, something that is greater than yourself, tribe, nationality, that in and of itself could make you A, a lot less lonely, and B, it's not even putting like a band-aid on something. It's curing yourself in everything but the band-aid, the would-be band-aided area. And of its own accord, when it's healed from the inside, the body will also heal better on the outside. I don't know if I'm making any sense. Are you going to turn into a werewolf? Give us a howl. Sure thing, KS. Oh! There. Duma says, nobody created anything. Your small and weak minds want you to believe that. Want to believe that, so that you can feel comfortable that you are universal purpose when you don't. A comfortable lie is much easier to be accepted. Yeah, you're right, Duma. You know everything that an entire span of many thousands of years of humanity, you are the wisest and the brightest, a paragon of all intelligence and, great thinking. I think that you are throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and that maybe you shouldn't do that. I'm not saying don't be against organized religion. I'm saying before you throw everything out, consider your humanity. Let's put it this way. But I don't fault you or think you're mistaken in holding this opinion. Of course. Ktiva Muse says, pride, pride, pride. Aye, aye. Let's continue. Scrolling down, scrolling down. There was a shooting star above you. Oh, that's nice, Omar. Vigil, you can't spell Jerusalem without USA. That's true. I've seen that sticker. As much as I like hedonism, sophistication is needed to know true love. Sophistication is needed to know true love. Well, what do you mean by sophistication? Do you mean nuance? Or do you mean things that are not hedonistic as such, and that already constitutes something more sophisticated than plain hedonism? You just made Moses roll in his grave. What kind of Judaism is this? I never said I represent Judaism. I said I'm a Hebrew man, no more, no less. I know a bit about the Nazarites, but to say Moloch is a real god, I said it's a real god to Ammon. It's a real god. Kmosh was the Ammon. Right? Molech was a real god to the Molech worshippers. Is the most unkosher thing I've ever heard. I never claimed to be kosher. I never claimed to be kosher. I don't think I've ever claimed to be kosher. So, okay, I'm fine with that. Listen, Nazarite or no Nazarite, it has nothing to do with the Nazarite ship, none whatsoever. There are many, let's put it this way. If the Hebrew people are not to, if the Hebrew people are to worship the one Hebrew God and to disconnect from all of those other deities, which is what I'm saying is the Hebrew thing to do, what does it matter if I say that to the other nations these are true deities? Why would it matter? Okay? Obviously there is that idea of litaken olam b'malchut Shaddai, right? V'ha'elilim karoti karetun. Yes, there is that final phase where we will be united and God will pour his spirit upon all flesh and the idols will pass from existence and the false deities will now be false for everybody. But for the time being, before it's one unified human race rallied under one banner of the Most High God and the Creator, as I perceive it, just me, it means that right now, yes, they are indeed true. In the very same way that you can have the divine revelation break up into 10. God is not 10 sfirot. God is revealed in 10 sfirot. Okay? So, false deities are not the one Hebrew God, but they do manifest different facets of divine revelation. Do you see what I'm saying? I think that I understand why you're having a problem with what I'm saying, DZ. And you don't have to go with what I'm saying. By all means, consider it non-kosher. That's fine. And if you never want to come here again, and if you're subscribed and you want to unsubscribe, or if you want to report me for I don't know what, whatever it is, it's all good. These are just my opinions and my views. So will there be a time when there will be only worship of one Hebrew God? Yes, right? The Creator. I believe that universally it will be. Edenic, right? The Edenic way, the Edenic mindset. However, in this world, in the very same way that there are forces of Sitra Achra, forces of the dark side, right, of the evil, there is also one Hebrew God and many other deities, which to the nations who worship them are just as true. Tell me, people in the chat, am I making any sort of sense with what I'm saying? Or is it really, really far-fetched that a Jew would be saying that for the nations who worship deities, those deities are to them just as real? I've just subscribed. Thank you, I appreciate that, Mauro. For future interesting streams, may it be so. Take care, you too. Take care. Rayball says, the God that created everything created also everyone. We shouldn't argue with who's chosen or who is right, I agree. But that we're all here right now living and chosen this time, we live by the Creator. Yes, I agree very much. I love the way you're phrasing things, Raybell. I like it very much. All That Goes Few says, who makes Jerusalem a heavy beast stone? And what happens to those who burden themselves with it? I'm not sure what that means. I'm sorry. You'll have to rephrase it. I don't know what you're saying. Is there a name for the Jewish negative polarity? Yes, it's called Sitra Achra, literally in Aramaic, other side. Yes, there is. Bella Donard. Hi, Bella Donard. Jose says, I thought in the Messianic era we're still supposed to offer animals to sacrifice for our sins. So it's a difference of opinion. But either way, it's a means to an end. You need to remember in the book of, what is it, Hosea, where it says, Ve'arva l'Adonai minchat Yehuda v'Yerushalayim, that the vegan offering, the mincha offering of Judah and Jerusalem will be pleasant and accepted before the Lord. Aaron said hi. Hi, Aaron5842. How you doing? Are you having a good day? Are you having a good night? Where are you at? Where are you from? Happy Tu B'Av, holy brother. Thank you so much, Jalen. A beautiful, bountiful full moon of Tu B'Av. Let's take another glance at that full moon. Wait, flip the camera. Boop. Ah, there we go. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful full moon. Wait, let's get the camera a little closer. Ah. Pretty. Very pretty. Okay, let's flip this back. Should we continue walking? Let's continue walking for a bit. Oh, man. Okay, got my keys. Yep. Okay, let's continue. Scrolling down. DZ says, I'll always come back. It's just sad to see a Hebrew saying there are other gods. Unless you mean God as an objective, meaning worshipped, but not as a real attribute, nature, that is only for... I agree that it all comes from the Creator. I meant that as worshipped, right? They don't have actual power to the people who worship them. To the people who worship them, right? They can offer some divine revelation, but it is the dark side of the force, if you will, right? And the lower Sitra Achra revelations that are working through it. Do you see what I'm saying? In this world of knowledge of good and evil, there is permission given to some degree to the dark side of the force to work its will. If there is a vessel and if there is an opportunity, there is a random and chaotic element to creation as well. And those husks, those klipot, right? They're a real thing. It's a real thing. In the very same way that the adversarial element himself, Satan, that Satan means adversary in Hebrew, right? In the very same way that Satan is a noble servant of God, in that very same way, those other deities as well are manifestations of divine revelation of one true God, right? By the time it comes down here and is revealed in that particular sense to those particular people who call it by a different name, who worship it, so to speak, they worship it as a separate God. DZ, do you see what I'm saying? Maybe you don't, maybe I'm not getting through. What do you think about the rise of Messianic synagogues, says Love As I don't know what to think. Messianic Jews have been a thing ever since Yeshua walked around where I am right now in Jerusalem. And, the whole Messianic Jews, Jews for Jesus, I don't follow Jesus. I'm not a Christian or a Messianic. But what do I think about the rise? I don't know that there is a rise. But if there is a rise of Messianic synagogues and Messianic Jews, I don't know what to think. It seems that the Christians are in the billions. Ooh, that was yeah, that's... Yeah. Christians are in the billions, and the Jews are only like, what, 14, 15 million? The one who laughs. Hey, good to see you again. Genuine question. Does the red heifer cleanse sins or only ritual impurity with contact from the dead? Ritual impurity with contact from the dead is what it cleanses. Why do people preparing it become impure, and how do they become pure again? Well, they become impure when they burn the carcass, when they burn the body. They become impure. And they become pure later that night after the mikveh, after the ritual pool. The idea is that purity and impurity are two sides of the same coin, and that it's a natural process of life. That's what it is. It's a natural process. Purity and impurity, it's not a question of clean and dirty. It's a question of being ritually clean or ritually unclean. It's not a question of being dirty physically. So the red heifer cleanses you from defilement of human death. That is what it is. Other sins, it's not a sin to be defiled by human death. It's a natural occurrence, and that's what I'm saying. It does not cleanse sin. It cleanses ritual impurity. That's its primary thing. Now, some people do say there is in the red heifer some atonement for the sin of the golden calf, because it's the calf's mother. Right? Gold and red. There's a whole thing there with the colors and with the familial relationship. Rafterman says, did you studied something? I went to film school. I'm a screenwriter. That's what I do. I mean, not for a living right now, but that's what I do. Where should I walk? Let's go over there. There's a bit of a wooded area. Let's chill out there. Crossing, crossing, crossing. All right, where do I have some light? Do I have some light over here? Oh. Okay, yeah. Wait, there's a light right there. Okay. Let's see. Boop. There we go. Would you say Jewish doctrine is less concerned with the polarity of or light versus dark than Christianity? I don't know enough about Christianity, Bella Donard, to make that call. I have no idea. Hey, Muy Grande is here. What's the temperature? I don't know, but it's nice. It's really, really nice out here. It's a little breezy, right? Because it's Jerusalem. I would say something like 15 degrees Celsius, but I don't know. I really don't know. Pine trees. Yes, there are pines here, and there are what others are here? Pines and what else? Oaks? Not oaks. No, Alon. What is it? I don't remember the name. I love the sound of the crickets. Yeah, so do I. At least for a time. Ashley says, are there Romanchi Gypsy in Israel? I've heard they are accepted as part of the lost tribe. I have no idea. There might be, but I don't know. That's a very good question. Where is Jesus according to you? He's a dead man. So his body is in the grave. Presumably his soul, because I think he was a righteous man, his soul went to the higher or lower Eden, whatever he did, you know. Or it split up. It's a whole thing. But where is Jesus? His body is in the ground. His soul? I don't know. Is it true that Jews like money, says Markin? Well, what do you mean by like money? Money is something that's a necessity these days, you know? What were the screenplays you mentioned you have finished about? Well, one of them is a Kabbalistic thriller, or Kabbalistically influenced thriller. Someone gets into an accident, it's a whole thing. He starts getting memories that aren't his, and it leads him down a whole thing. And he meets this old Kabbalist in Jerusalem. He has visions, and it has to do with he visits the 4 different holy cities. He finds the entrance into Gehinnom. I enjoyed writing it. Still haven't finished it, but I'm almost finished. And I wrote a comedy about a day in the life of people in a record CD store. And in the early 2000s, it was Empire Records meets Clerks. Empire Records meets Clerks, and that one is a comedy. So I wrote a thriller and a comedy. And a couple of others. Are you releasing these? They will be on your channel because it sounds interesting. Releasing them? What, just the screenplay? I might, if you want to read a screenplay. So yes, they are in Hebrew, but I can have them translated. I can translate them myself. So am I releasing them? I send them out every now and then to an open call for screenplays, but they have not yet been picked up by anyone. Why is there so many settler attacks in the West Bank? Khalil, there aren't many settler attacks in the West Bank at all compared to the amount that could be based on the settlements and the amount of settlers and on the past. So one way or another, there are not so many. Why are there? Because people are violent. Now, some people are provoked, but if we're talking about the unprovoked settler violence, because some people are just violent, and that's a terrible thing, and I hope that they aren't violent against those who do not merit that. Ay, ay, ay. It's Judea and Samaria. Yes, it is Yehuda v'Shomron. People call it the West Bank of the Jordan. Mr. Shotgun says, Vsauce cousin, guys. Yes, so I'm told. People love money, says Neve, lower than people of wisdom in the Jewish society. I'm not sure what Neve meant by that. Neve, you might want to rephrase it. So says, no one has recognized your genuineness. Genuineness? People will steal your ideas. Yes, I suspect, and I might be wrong, it could be just a fluke or a coincidence, but I suspect I wrote a series. I wrote a TV series, and I was invited to pitch it to one of the biggest networks in Israel. I pitched it, they didn't go with it. Later on, I pitched it to a different studio. 2 or 3 years later, I sent it in again to somewhere, and hang on a sec. Oh, okay, my keys. And I pitched it to not a network, but a studio. And in the interview, they tell me, how do you feel about the fact that there's a show just like you pitched us right now that is being filmed at a studio on the other side of the country? And I go, I didn't know. There are differences, but I did not know that. As it turns out, the Bible, not the religious Hebrew Bible, the Bible meaning the series that I wrote with my father, it may have been stolen by someone. So many things seem to be similar. I hope it's just a fluke. I hope it's just a weird coincidence. Or someone stole our idea. Smart ideas spread like wildfire. Yes. Did you sue for intellectual property rights infringement? No, I did not, Kurz, because I don't think that I don't know if I have enough legally. And I didn't want to pay a lawyer to start going through stuff and start a case. No, I just let it be. Homeless Jew, what the fuck? Why aren't you collecting interest? I'm not homeless, and I might be collecting interest later on if I have. I'm collecting interest on a few things. I have a couple of savings accounts for myself and for the kids, and those are collecting interest. So I am. I have a home, and I'm collecting interest. Demon playing victim, says Lucy7. Are you talking to me? I don't think I've played victim, but okay. I've had my ideas stolen. Just make sure your ideas help people, says So. Yeah, that's not too good. Not too good. Do you support Benjamin Netanyahu? No, I do not. U.S. taxpayer money, says Lucy, well, who knows absolutely jack shit about what Israel does with the money. Are you aware that we give 70 or 80% right back to the U.S. industry? Are you aware that most things in Israel are not from U.S. taxpayer money? Also, if you have an issue with that, and by all means, I have great sympathy for you if you do, why don't you go talk to your leaders, administration, the higher-ups, the congressmen, and the senators, and the people who can actually do something about it, instead. Oh, wait. I glitched. I'm good. I'm live. Okay. Money is like women menstruation. It comes once a month and lasts barely a week. That's nice. That's a good one, Vigil. That's a good one. Have you written books? So again, not my stuff. I've ghost written things, but no, I will not give you the titles. Ashley says, no need for anti-Semitic crap. I'm so sick of everyone hating one another. I was born in 1985 and never thought things would end up this way. Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I kind of thought maybe things will end up this way. So much hatred and so much conflict and so much war and so much bloodshed in this area of the world. UK says, you living under a rock? No, not really. Maybe in some ways, sure. I'm sorry you have to deal with so much hate from people. No, Aaron, don't be sorry. This is a win-win-win. It's a win for them because they get to hate on the internet, which is a great pastime. It's a win for me because I get to listen to it and, you know, grow wise and be entertained from their hate. And it's a win for YouTube because they keep the engagement coming, right? And they keep the algorithm working. So it's a win-win-win all the way around. So Aaron, and all, you know, all of you haters out there, thank you for being here. I appreciate your hate. And Aaron, don't feel sorry. I love the haters, I love the Nazis, I love the trollers, I love the spammers, I love the insulters, the vitriol slingers, and I love, you know, the encouraging people, the lovely people, the fine people, the positive people as well. And, you know, every like, every sub, every view, every chat, every comment, every DM, I do appreciate it. And I like it all. I like 100% of it here, live from Jerusalem, coming at you. Why are you outside? Young Danva says. I felt like being outside. That's why I'm outside. Saying that there's Nazi people as wild. There are, you partake. There are literal neo-Nazis in the chat, right, who claim, right, and who's that? מה זה? לא, אין לי, צר לי. איך אין לי? כן, לא מעשן.
לא.
מה לעשות?
אני סתם רוצה לדעת, הייתי סקרן לראות מה שאתה עושה.
כן?
באמא שלי.
לא, אני
ואני
לא...
בן אדם לא סקרן בדרך כלל.
וואלה.
אני מהמרוקאים העתיקים.
כן, ואתה חושב שהמרוקאים העתיקים לא היו סקרנים?
לא, אני במקרה יושב עם איזה מישהו שדיבץ במונית, ואני אומר, מי זה יושב לי פה? אני חי פה 40 שנה, אף פעם לא ראיתי מי שיושב.
אני פה בלייב, אתה רוצה להגיד שלום?
לא צריך, מי אתה? מה אתה? מה דרסת אותי?
מאיזו בחינה? אני נזיר, נדרתי נזירות.
כמו כל רצון אתה? משהו כזה?
לא, ממש לא. אין לי קאט. אין לי קאט.
מה אתה? מה דרסת אותי?
אמרתי לך, נדרתי נזירות. על שמשון, שמעת?
שמשון וגלילה.
יפה. שמשון היה נזיר. אני נזיר שמשון.
מי אתה? אתה גר פה?
כן, בארמון הנציב.
איפה?
פה, בפיינשטיין.
פה לא ראיתי לך כפרה.
פה 3 שנים.
איציק.
יונתן.
כמה אתה?
43. I'll be right with you guys, hang on a second.
מה אתה עושה? לא הבנתי, מחזיר אנשים בתשובה?
לא, ממש לא, מדבר עם אנשים.
מאיזה בחינה?
יש לי ערוץ ביוטיוב שמוקדש
כמו
דת, רוח, אמונה.
יש לך גילדות פה?
יש לי מה?
גילדות?
לא מעשן. לא טבק ולא גנג'ה.
כמו הנביא הקדמון, כמו... אז מי אתה?
מאיזו בחינה?
תחשוב מבחינה שבן אדם שמשלם לי כסף לשבת איתי, אני במקרה עברתי בין הטיפות, כאילו שאומרים.
כן.
זה נדיר שאני מדבר איתך, אבל אני גם שואל אותך, אתה לא עונה לי.
עונה על כל שאלה. לא מעשן טבק, לא מעשן גן, נשוי, 4 ילדים, נשוי מאז גיל 20.
מה העבודה שלי?
אני כותב.
מה זה הזקן הזה?
אף פעם לא התגלחתי.
יש מוזר?
תלוי את מי שואלים.
מה אתה עושה בחיים?
כותב. אני קופירייטר ותסריטאי.
לא התגלחת?
הלכתי, אתה יודע, פעמיים כשהיה לי קצת כאן.
ילדים?
4 ילדים, שיהיו בריאים.
מה, אתה הולך לפי אמונה? לא הבנתי, מה זה?
מאיזו בחינה? אני גדלתי דתי-לאומי.
יש לך... יש לך איזשהו...
גדלתי דתי-לאומי.
יש לך סטייל מיוחד.
תורה ומצוות. זה מה שזה, זו הדרך.
שומע, אני בחור מה זה חכם וקטלני, בתור מזרחי. אני לא מחפש רגש איתך ולא כמות ולא אהבה ולא נטפל אליך, ובחיים אתה תשלם לי כסף אני לשבת איתך. עכשיו הדיאלוג, הדו-שיח בינינו, זה לא סתם.
לא, זה לא סתם.
אני מכיר, ראיתי אותך ששלחתי מישהי במונית לאיזה... לא משנה. אני אומר, זה מה עושה פה? הייתי סקרן.
אתה לא הראשון.
ואני ואתה זה כמו קשת וענן, שתי עולמות מחוברים.
מאיזו בחינה? למה?
לא, בחינה יהודים, הכל טוב. בחינה קשת וענן, לכל אחד בעולם אחר באפל. אבל זה מה שיפה באדם, שמישהו מהגלקסיה האחרת מדבר עם מישהו. זה מה שיפה, מה הקשת וענן עושה? מחבר.
כן, חיבורים.
שובר את הגשם ושובר את השמש, ואז זה יחד קשת וענן.
כן.
עכשיו, אני בתור אחד, מה זה גברי? עם פוטנציאל רחב, בתור בוא, בסדר, לא מתבייש, מרוקאי, הרי מי שולט בכנסת, ליכודניקים, המזרחים. מה אתה עושה פה, אחי?
אני לרוב עושה את זה בבית. יצאתי
4
לסיבוב
ילדים
סיבוב
כבר
היום.
לך.
כן, כן.
מה לך
כן, כן.
עכשיו לשטויות האלה? מה, נהיית מרצת כמו עידן רייכל, כך?
לא, תודה.
אתה מעביר שיעורים דרך זה?
לא מעביר שיעורים, מדבר עם אנשים. אני לא מורה.
שומעים אותי.
שומעים אותי. Hey, you can listen to him, right? You can hear him? שנייה רגע.
טוב, היה להם להכיר אותך, תמשיך בדרך שלך, שומע, לא קוראים לי איציק.
אלא?
שלומי.
לא, אמרת איציק? אמרת איציק.
שלומי, אני לא אשקר עליך.
אתה מוזמן. אתה מוזמן לשקר, הכל טוב.
למה? למה, משקרים עליך?
לא, אבל אם אתה מרגיש, אתה יודע, כבדהו חשדהו. אז אם אתה מרגיש...
אתה סטיין מעולמות שונים. זה מה שיפה שאנחנו מדברים.
כן, דו-שיח.
כאילו, סתם דוגמה, אנשים כמוך, אם אני מראה את הפ... יש לי פוטנציאל. אני רק שואג, בורחים. אתה מבין? עכשיו, אני נראה להתחבר עם אנשים לפעמים כמוך, שהם לא פרימיטיביים, ששונאים...
כן, ברור.
לא משנה. כל כך בן אדם נחמד שנראה...
יש רגעים שאני פחות נחמד.
אני לא מבין למה אתה לא מתחבר לדברים אחרים.
כגון
במקום להרצות פה בטלפון.
לא להרצות, לדבר.
במסגרת של ילדים, תרצה
כי אני לא מרצה, כי מרצה זה אומר שאני פה ואני מרצה לכם.
סקלן?
לא.
מעשן, שותה?
כבר לא. פעם אחרונה ששתיתי היה לפני 16 שנה.
אז אתה סחי כל הזמן?
פעם אחרונה שעישנתי, לאחרונה... הייתי מעשן שחטה 2 לפני השנה.
איזה מוצא אתה, אם אפשר לשאול? אני אגיד לך על המוצא שלי.
אני איש עברי.
אני אגיד לך על המוצא שלי. אני כורדי טורקי מרוקאי.
סבבה.
מה המוצא שלך, אחי, שישמעו גם?
פה, ואני תמיד אומר את זה. כן? האבות שלנו הגענו
אתה לא עונה על השאלה שלי.
כן.
אני גרוש 3 פעמים.
הגלותי, אתה אומר, המוצא הגלותי שלי.
מה המוצא?
זה אתה מדבר? לא, אבל בוא נהיה...
בגלות.
בגלות.
לעולם הבא אנחנו.
בגלות, אשכנז. אמריקה.
בסדר, זה... מה? גדלת בישראל?
כן. נולדתי ברחובות.
שירת בצבא?
שירתי בצבא.
אפשר לשאול אותך שאלה?
שאל.
מה אתה עושה גדמת? מה זה זה?
מאיזו בחינה?
זה השיער שלך? או שזה תוספות?
לא, הכל שלי. לא הסתפרתי כבר 18 שנים. ולא...
למה?
מה זה? אלא?
זה לא תוספות, זה שלך, כל זה שלך.
כן, זה אפילו...
מי אתה? מה אתה? אתה רוקד במסיבות והולך למסיבות טבע?
לא, אף פעם לא הייתי במסיבת טבע בחיים שלי. אף פעם לא הייתי במסיבת טבע.
מה אתה עושה פה, גדמת? אני רגיל לראות אנשים כמוך שנותן להם קרטונים.
מה שכולנו עושים פה. כן, אבל אתה יודע, הרוב פה...
שלא יהיה משטרה.
Hang on a second. Hello.
מה, אני רגיל לראות אנשים כמוך רוקדים, מתחתם במה אני בא, אומר להם בואו תריחו כמה פסים, בואו תאכלו איזה קרטון.
כן, יצא לי לאכול קרטון או 2 בחיים, ואני... תמיד הייתה חוויה טובה.
אתה טיפוס שונה לחלוטין?
כן.
אני מה זה עכשיו, ניסו אותו, אחו, שחמו אותה מהכל. לא סתם אני, לא מדבר איתך מהסך, אני יודע מה אני עושה.
ברור.
אבל מה זה טיפוס מיוחד?
תשמע, זה גם לילה מיוחד ט"ו באב. לא היו ימים טובים, הלילה.
כאילו?
לא, אתה יודע, לא היו ימים טובים לישראל. ט"ו באב זה יום שבו קרו 5 דברים. הרוגי בית"ר הובאו לקבורה.
כאילו במובן השלילי.
במובן החיובי. לכן כתוב במסכת תענית, לא היו ימים טובים לישראל כתוב באב ויום הכיפורים. אתה מה? כן.
והוא ראה חכו. מה אתה עושה? סתם שאלה.
מדבר עם אנשים.
למה לא
רוח, דת, פילוסופיה, פסיכולוגיה, אמונה, דעות.
סתם דוגמה שאנשים אחרים, סתם דוגמה, רואים אותך מה שאתה עושה. סתם שאלה.
באיזו בחינה? עכשיו פה?
כן, מבחינה של... יש לי שאלה אליך אחרת. אתה לא מתבייש מאנשים?
לא.
אם אתה לא מתבייש מאנשים זה אומר שאתה חזק.
לא, אני לא מתבייש מאנשים.
אני לא הייתי עושה את מה שאתה עושה גם אם ישלמו לי $1,000,000. אתה מבין אותי?
מה הדבר שהם מנסים לבייש אותי באופן אקטיבי?
לא, אני בן אדם טוב.
לא אתה.
אני לא הייתי עושה את מה שאתה עושה גם אם ישלמו לי $1,000 לשנייה.
זה עניין גם של אישיות, אני מניח. תשמע, אני גם...
אם אני אחד כמוני יושב פה, אני אחשוב שאני פסיכיאטרי. ואני פסיכיאטרי. פסיכיאטרי?
יצא לי להיות בטיפול פסיכולוגי כמה שנים, עשה לי טוב, אני מתישהו אשוב, אבל פסיכיאטר לא.
לא, יש לך 4 ילדים, אני לא שוקל, יש נשוי, אני יודע, יש לך מעמד טוב, אבל אני אישית, באישיות שלי?
כן.
לא משנה, הם מכירים אותי, לא מכירים אותי, ברבים, בקטנים.
כן.
לא הייתי עושה מה שעשיתי.
ולמה לא? אני אשאל אותך ככה, למה לא?
כי אני מורח, אני שתוי, אני מאושן, אתה לא כמוני, הבנת? אני מערבב 3,000 שקלות בשנייה. שותה גם. סליחה שאני מפריע.
לא, אתה לא מפריע, הכל טוב. אתה יודע, אני עושה את זה פה דיגיטלי, זה הדבר האמיתי. ה-face to face. אתה מבין?
אבל אתה בטח מראה את זה לאנשים מחוץ לעיר.
זה בשידור חי.
כמה עוקבים יש לך?
הרוב 7,800.
עכשיו צופים בך 7,000?
לא. עכשיו 50 ומשהו חבר'ה. זה היה 100, זה 60 ומשהו עכשיו.
צופים בך ויושב פה?
כן. ולא עוזבים, כי אנחנו כבר...
מה אתה רואה עליי?
מאיזו בחינה?
של הכל. אני בן אדם פרייר?
אני רואה רק את מה שאתה...
עזוב את הנעילות.
לא. אתה...
מה אתה רואה?
אני רק שופט לפי מה שאתה
אתה
נתת
רואה
לי.
בן אדם כמוך או...
אני רואה בן אדם כמוני...
או אז אתה עוד
אני רואה בן אדם כמוני אחד לאחד.
אל תסתכל, יש שם אוטו.
כן.
יושבים שם 4 אינדיאנים.
אוקיי. איזה סוג של אינדיאנים? אינדיה או...
אינדיאנים, אני לא מבין.
לא, אני אומר אינדיאן הודו או אינדיאן...
אני דרוך תמיד.
כן.
גם שישמעו. אני סתם באתי. אני וסקלה, אבל אם אני רואה 4 אלה, מישהו מדבר עם אחד כמוך, מישהו מהעולם שלי, הוא מת. טוב, אני לא אפריע לך.
אתה לא מפריע.
אני אספר לך סיפור.
אתה לא מפריע, כן, ספר.
אני ואתה יום אחד ניפגש למטה. אתה עכשיו פגשת בן אדם שאני לא רגיל לדבר עם אף אחד. לא יודע איך דיברתי איתך, אבל בסדר, אני שמח.
גם אני.
אתה מריח קוק?
קוק לא.
זה מקליט אותנו. לא, אתה לא קשור. לא סטלן, לא שותה, לא כלום אתה. מה אתה עושה? איזה ענה יש לך? איך אתה מתחבר ל...
זה
התורה. זה נותן לך את הרגש של האנשים.
זה נותן לי אנרגיה,
אבל
בטח.
חצי מהם אולי מסטולים, שומעים אותך מהסטלן.
בטח. וגם איתם אני זורם.
למה אתה לא זורם?
גם איתם אני זורם. מה זה?
למה אתה לא מעשן, שותה?
ישנתי בעבר, אף פעם לא יותר מדי, וקיבלתי את הקריאה להפסיק.
ציפרח?
מה זה?
ציפרח?
לא, תודה. יש טלגראס, אם אני רוצה, אני יכול תוך חצי שעה שיהיה לי פה שקית.
וואלה, אתה בן אדם נחמד, אני מחבב אותך, אני לא סתם גם מציע לך את זה. צריך משהו, אני בחר עמוס, אחי, אני במקרה באתי לחבל הטיפות כנולך.
בין הטיפות זה טוב.
יש לי פה איזה עניין באיזה בית. אני הולך לעשות משהו טוב. אני לא יודע, אני יהודי, יש לי לב טוב, אני דיברתי איתך, אני גם רוצה לחבל אותך, ואתה מזלזל בזה גם.
לא, אמרת מזלזל? זה מה שאמרת עכשיו?
אני מציע לך זה, אתה אומר לי...
לא, אני אומר לא כי אני לא מעשן, אבל לא כי יש זלזול, נראה לך? אני חובב קנאביס מאוד, אני פשוט לא מעשן.
מה אתה עושה? מריץ? מה?
לא, כלום.
אתה מריח?
לא.
אתה יודע מה זה דוקטור?
מה זה מה?
דוקטור.
דוקטור? לא.
אז מה אתה, מי אתה? מה אתה עושה פה?
נגיד ככה, יצא לי לשתות, ועכשיו אני כבר לא. יצא לי לעשן, ועכשיו אני כבר לא. פשוט החלטתי, וואלה, מתאים לי בלי זה.
וואלה, אתה בן אדם נחמד, בקבר אמא שלי, מישהו היה מדבר איתך לידי, הוא היה נתקר. וואלה, אני לא אפריע לך.
אתה לא מפריע שלומי, אתה לא מפריע בכלל.
שיהיה לך ערב טוב,
ולך.
סליחה שאמרתי לך את השם הראשון שלי.
הכל טוב, לא, אני אומר לך, זה בסדר, כבדהו חשדהו. כבדהו חשדהו, אני לא מאשים אותך ולא רואה אותך בקטע רע בכלל.
יש עלי דברים, שלא יקפצו עליי פה.
בדיוק.
להיעצר.
כן, אף אחד, לא. לשמור על עצמך, שמור על עצמך.
תגיד לי, אתה צריך יום אחד לבוא איתי לאיזה מסיבה, בריחה, אבל בקסטל, לבשר, זה שווה, חברים. אני אשים לך שתי אקסטות על הראשון.
הנה העניין, אם אני אהיה במסיבה, זה לא יבוא לי טוב. אני לקחתי אקסטסי 4 פעמים בחיים,
שומע, אחד כמוך
לא במסיבות. נראה לי במסיבות זה לא יבוא לי טוב.
אם אם שוויתי את לבך עכשיו בדו-שיח בינינו, בדיאלוג שנוצר בינינו,
כן.
בתור אחד מזרחי, ואתה ואני, עולמות שונים לחלוטין, אבל יש לי שכל יותר ממך, כמו שאתה תגיד שיש לך שכל יותר ממני. לא שופטים. אבל בזמן אחר, במקום אחר, לאמא שלי הייתי מפנק אותך עכשיו.
אני מעריך את הרצון הטוב, שלומי.
הייתי שומע. גבר, מה השח שלי?
11:20.
תודה רבה לך. תודה למה שאלתי אותו מה נשמע?
שאלת אותו מה השעה?
מה השעה?
למה?
אני לא רוצה שישמעו מה אני רוצה להגיד לך.
כן.
שמת לב.
אז איך זה?
אני ברון של השכונה, מכירים אותי כולם.
כן?
תשמע משהו חשוב.
שומע?
הרבנית! מה נשמע? רואה אותי מפה? איפה? כושר? אתם עושים כושר? צריכה עזרה במשהו? שלא יפריעו לך פה אנשים, משהו. צריכה שומר ראש, בקיצור. ערב טוב, הרבנית. תמיד אני לשירותך. שכנה שלי, אישה דתייה, אני מכבד אותה.
נייס.
תגיד לי,
כן.
וואי, מסטול. שמע, הבן אדם הזה נחמד, אהבתי אותך. מאוד. אבל אם לא הייתי הפוך, הייתי... אני מספר לך סיפור.
ספר. אני מקשיב.
פעם שהמפגנים עברו. הבנת, היום הכל הולך, לא יודע איך להסביר לך. זה כמו איזשהו משהו, כאילו, ידעתי שהוא יעצור הבן זונה, הם באו במדע. אני רק יוצא לסיבוב, באים במדע. יכול להיות שהזמנת אותם עליי משהו?
ממש לא. אני פה בשידור חי.
לא, אני יודע שלא, הכל טוב. לא, יש לך, אל תחשוב. סליחה שזה אולי אלה ש... אני מנסה לדעת, מה אמרו, הוא בטח קיבל מידע בן זונה שאני יוצא. אני בחור לא פרייר פה בשכונה. מה זה בשכונה? יש לי פה משפחות, יש לי 13 אחים.
וואה. הרבה.
הבנת? הוא לא סתם בא בן שרמוטה הזה. תגיד לי.
כן.
לא, הכל טוב, זה סתם בת, קטן. אני לא מסתובב עם דברים עליי.
חכם.
יכול להיות ש... לא, אתה לא, מה פתאום בחיים אני לא אגיד דברים כאלה. אני יודע גם מי... אפשר להגיד לך משהו?
תגיד. בטח שאפשר.
אני אחד הקטלניים פה בשכונה הזאת, מבחינה של הכל. איך באו עליי ככה? כולה אני, כמה זמן איתך? 3 דקות, נכון? 4 דקות.
אולי 10 דקות? משהו כזה.
מה, תגיד להם גם כמה זמן ישבנו, ושאלו אותך שאלות. תפתח עליי, מה אני עושה איתך?
מאיזו בחינה? מאיזו בחינה לפתוח עליך?
איפה שמתי את הבת? תצביע להם.
לא, מצביע עליך.
אח שלי, אני שומע? אספר לך בגדול.
כן.
יש לי משפחה פה גדולה. יש לי נשים, הכל. לא פרק. עכשיו, רציתי קצת שקט, להתנקות עם עצמי, אני קצת בצער, עצבני, כל מיני דברים.
אני מצטער לשמוע שאתה בצער.
לא חלילה עצבני, אני קצת נראה כי אני מסתור.
לא, לא.
עכשיו שיצאתי רק סיבוב, שומע?
אמרת שאתה בצער.
שיצאתי רק סיבוב, נראה לי הטלפון שלך הביא אותי.
כן?
לא מבחינה עליך.
לא. משהו קרה לך.
אל תסתכל עליהם שהם עוברים. תגיד לי, אתה אוהב לדבר איתי?
בטח.
אני סימפטי בשבילך?
כן? סימפטי מספיק?
וואלה, זה לא הגיוני מה שקורה פה. אל תסתכל עליהם שהם
מאיזו
עוברים.
בחינה?
מבחינה שהאוטו הזה עכשיו שנכנס הוא לא סתם נכנס.
אתה רואה יותר ממה שאני רואה, כי אני, אתה יודע, אתה עם הפנים לשם, אני לפה.
חמוד אותי. אתה אוהב סרטים לראות?
אני תסריטאי, אבל אני לא רואה מספיק סרטים.
אתה אוהב, נגיד, סתם דוגמה, סרטים של... קומיקסים, באטמן, סופרמן.
תלוי איזה. של הניינדיז יותר
מה אתה אוהב
אהבתי.
יותר?
של הניינדיז
שר
יותר
הטבעות
אהבתי.
וזה.
לא, דברים של, אתה יודע, דברים של קומיקסים יותר אהבתי בניינטיז. עכשיו
מה
זה
זה
יותר
90s?
מדי, עכשיו זה יותר מדי. קצת יותר מדי. אתה יודע,
מה זה 90s?
ג'ק ניקולסון, אתה יודע.
מה זה 90s?
90s זה אומר ג'ק ניקולסון כג'וקר ב-1990. איזה משחק הוא נתן שם. אבל...
אז אתה כאילו היית
יכול להיות שזה יותר-
בסרטים של המסכה, של ג'ים קרי וזה.
כן, גם אחלה. שמע, זה לא
איפה
שעכשיו-
עלית
זה
לך
לא
בדיוק?
שעכשיו אין סרטים טובים, אבל לפעמים זה יותר מדי מסחרה. קצת יותר מדי.
איזה ילידת בדיוק?
82,
82?
כן.
איזה חודש כאילו?
עברי או לועזי, מה אתה רוצה?
לא אכפת לי.
דצמבר.
לועזי, דצמבר?
דצמבר.
אז אתה בזל קשת.
אני קשת לועזי, גדי עברי.
מה זה עברי כאילו?
זה אומר שיש אסטרולוגיה עברית, ויש אסטרולוגיה
בתעודת
פגנית.
זהות אתה 12?
תעודת זהות אני 12, טבת. טבת זה גדי.
כמוני, אתה בזל קשת. מה זה?
כן. מה זה? טבת
אתה
זה...
בלועזי כאילו שני? שלישי?
לא. בלועזי אני מזל קשת. העברי זה בחודש...
בלועזי זה תעודת זהות?
שניהם בתעודת זהות.
לא, אני מדבר איתך בלועזי, שכחתי פשוט.
בלועזי דצמבר, כן.
אבל אתה
קשת.
כמוני, אתה מזל קשת.
קשת,
באיזה יום בחודש?
ב-19.
בוא'נה, אתה כמוני, אני לא מאמין. 19 ל-12?
19 ל-12.
בגלל זה אני מדבר איתך. קח, תראה את התעודת זהות שלי.
19 ל-12, שנתיים אחריי.
קח, תראה טוב אותה.
ראיתי, 84.
תראה, הם אחריי אלה. יש אחריי סמויה, אתה יודע מה זה צוותים?
מה זה מה?
הם לא שורפים את עצמם, הם לא ירדו שאלו שאלות. כי הם ישרפו, הם יודעים, אני בלי נשק, בלי כלום. תגיד לי, שומעים אותנו
אז אין
פה?
להם למה. כן, you guys can hear us, right?
וואלכ, תבואו לפה מאמריקה, אני אעשה אתכם חיילים שלי. סתם, אני צורך.
60% הרוב.
בוא'נה, אתה נולדת ביום שאני נולדתי,
כן.
ולא סתם דיברנו.
לא נראה לי סתם.
וואלה, סליחה שהפרעתי לך.
אתה לא מפריע שלומי. ממש לא.
אבל אני...
שמחתי.
במקרה שוטטתי פה, אני לא רגיל, יש לי מערכת... אני בחור, מה זה? אני לא מאלה שלוקח מספרים ויגיד לך סתם, יהיה איתך בקשר, יש לך טלפון, אני אמיתי.
ואני מעריך את זה.
אני בין הטיפות עכשיו פגשת בחור שלא תפגוש אותו, נראה לי. אולי אני אפגש בשמחות, בעזרת השם. אבל מה שקרה פה עכשיו, זה כולה יצאתי כמה דקות לנשוף אוויר, ויש לי צוות של אנשים בתוך העולם שלי, בבית שלי. אל תראה אותי ככה, פשוט קצת
אני רואה אותך בדיוק איך שאתה, לא יותר ולא פחות.
סאטלר, הבנת דוקטור וזה, פריסטה, כל מיני דברים. אני לא מעשן, לא מסתכל, הייתי מזמין אותך לחיקתי לעולם שלי, אבל אתה תגיד לי לא, אבל אני לא רוצה לקבל כרטיס אדום ממך. גם מסכים
מעריך.
איתי?
כנראה.
מתי ניפגש? אתה תרצה להיפגש? לדבר?
לדבר בטח, אפשר. אני אוהב לדבר, לכן אני עושה את זה.
איך פוגשים אותך? פעם הבאה. אתה פה כל יום?
לא, אני לרוב עושה את זה מהבית. אבל התחשק לי להיות בחוץ בגלל הירח המלא. בגלל ט"ו באב.
תגיד לי.
כן.
אני סתם דוגמה, אם ארצה לדבר איתך כמו היום, איך אני רואה אותך?
יש לך כמה שעות.
הם לא יכולים לעשות כלום. אולי יתנו לי קנס, כמה שקלים, אבל...
כן.
אני לא אתן להם את הצ'אנס, אני לא רוצה... עכשיו השתחררתי 3 שנים. תשמע, איך אני פוגש אותך?
תגיד לי אתה רוצה את המספר שלי?
אני לא מתעסק עם מספרים.
סבבה.
אני מכבד את זה,
יוטיוב?
אתה מעריך אותי.
יוטיוב?
ואם אתה תבין מי יש לי גם בחורות כמוך בדיוק שאוהבות לשמוע אותי, ויש לי... תשמע, אני מה זה מחבב אותך.
מעניין אותך?
וואלה, אולי ניפגש בשמחות.
אולי ניפגש, לא יהי.
שומע אחי, אני מקווה שתצליח, אני מאחר.
זה אתה, ממש.
ואם אני אראה מישהו, יש לך בעיות עם אנשים משהו? מישהו
לא.
עושה לך משהו?
לא,
מפריע לך?
אף
מציק לך?
אחד שום דבר לא מציק לי.
וואלה, אם אני אראה מישהו שמפריע לך, הוא ייפגע קשה. אתה יודע למה?
מעריך.
אתה יודע למה?
כן? אני יודע למה.
אני אשב עליך מעצר. אתה בן אדם טוב.
נקווה שזה לא יבוא לזה.
ואני בחור קטלני. לא יודע איך נפגשנו, אולי ליום... ועוד אנחנו באותו יום, אחי.
כן.
זה משגע אותי. באמא שלך אתה בת 19 ל-12?
19 ל-12, 82.
בסדר, אתה שנתיים. אתה, אני עכשיו בן 44.
3. בדצמבר 44.
דצמבר 3.
כן.
בוא'נה, אתה לא מבין משהו חשוב. הוצאתי לך את תעודת זהות שלי בתור כורדי מרוקאי. הראיתי לך את הקומפלימנט, את החומר למחשבה שבאמת אני דובר אמת, ורק בטח ראיתי את תעודת זהות, האוזניים שלך כמו ארנבת. עכשיו אתה לא מבין משהו חשוב. אני ואתה נולדנו באותו יום.
כן.
זה שזה לא באותו שנה ולא באותו כלום. בתור יהודי, לא יודע, אם אתה אומר שגדלת בישראל, אז אתה יהודי.
נכון.
אתה נולדת במשהו שיש לו משמעות.
מסכים.
אתה נולדת בנר ראשון של חנוכה. פעם אמרו לך את זה?
שלי זה היה לא נר ראשון.
עזוב אותך, אתה בא לועזי.
כן.
לועזי זה בתעודת זהות. בעברי אתה נולדת בנר ראשון של חנוכה. אתה כמוני.
מיד אחרי חנוכה. מיד אחרי חנוכה.
רגע, אל תערבב את המילים, אני חכם. סליחה שאני נעול.
הכל טוב, הכל טוב, הכל טוב.
ואופי אחר ויופי,
נכון,
הכל.
נכון.
יש לי שאלה, זה מה שיפה באדם. אתה לא יודע שנולדת בנר ראשון של חנוכה, אתה גר פה כל החיים, 43 שנה, ולא ידעת את זה?
אני יודע שאם הייתי נולד ב-84.
אכלת לחם, שמת זין, אני רואה אותך.
כן.
אתה לא מניח תפילין אף פעם, אני שם לב, אתה לא מאמין ביהדות.
הנחתי בהחלט תפילין.
אבל אני אספר לך משהו, יש לך משהו שהוא חשוב. בתור אחד שגדל, אתה נולדת כמוני ביום הכי חשוב במדינה, מה זאת אומרת? לא פסח, לא סוכות, לא כלום. אין יותר מנר ראשון של חנוכה, להדליק את הברכה. ב-19 ל-12 אתה כמוני, בגלל זה אני נותן את הכוח שלי כלפיך ומחכים לי גדודים בבית. אתה לא מבין מי אני. אפילו אתה לא מכבד את זה. אפילו כי אתה לא מתקרב אל... לא, בסדר, אני לא אגיד לך במי אתה מאמין, מה אתה מאמין, זה שלך. אבל יש לך משהו שהוא חשוב. אולי בגלל זה אתה מקבל כוחות ממנו. במי אתה מאמין? סתם שאלה. באיזה אלוהים?
מאיזו בחינה? האל העברי. אדוני.
אל תשקר אותי, תגיד, אתה מניח תפילין, מתפלל, שומר שבתות, אתה לא מאמין בבורא עולם.
א',
איזה עולה?
שומר שבת. כן, כן.
באיזה אלוהים אתה מאמין?
אדוני, האל העברי, הבורא.
איזה בורא? אל תשקר, תהיה גבר.
מאיזו בחינה איזה בורא?
איזה אלוהים אתה מאמין? אתה לא מאמין באלוהים שלי.
אלא?
אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד.
בוא, אתה מאמין?
אני מאמין באדוני.
אתה לא מניח תפילין, אתה לא שומר שבת.
אני שומר שבת. אני שומר שבת. תפילין הפסקתי להניח בגלל הנזירות. הנחתי תפילין כל יום רוב החיים שלי.
מה זה ממר? סליחה. מה עכשיו בדיוק אצלך?
בוא נראה. 11:32 בלילה.
וואי, הייתי צריך להיות שם ב-11:10. כמה פעמים אני מדבר איתך?
רבע שעה, אולי 20 דקות, לא יודע בדיוק. אבל נשמע, אם אתה ממהר, אל תאחר לאנשים. ואם אנחנו צריכים להיפגש, אז ניפגש.
אתה איפה גם?
מורד הרחוב.
בקוטג'ים?
כן, שם ליד...
בקוטג'ים? אני מכיר הכל.
ממש מול התחנת אוטובוס.
כמה אתה גר פה?
3 שנים.
אתה לא מכיר את המרוקאים, את המזרחים.
לא. אני גם לא ממש מתערבב פה.
אתה נשוי? יש לך אישה?
אישה, מאז גיל 20.
אתה טיפוס, מה זה שונה? חבל על הזמן. אתה לא קשה לי פיצוח. כולם, אשתך תשב איתך 25 שנה, ההוא יישב איתך 30 שנה, אלה שאתה מרצה להם ישבו איתך.
לא מרצה, מדבר.
אני, לא בשביל לקלוט את הראש שלך, ממש. אני, עם הפוטנציאל שיש בי, אם שוויתי אותך, אתה שבוי אצלי. מה זאת אומרת? אני ואתה, אני יודע עליך כבר הכל. תן לי רק שעה, שעתיים איתך, אני כבר יודע את הרקורד שמה שאנשים ניסו להוציא ממך, כל החיים לא הצליחו, אני מוציא לך את זה תוך שעתיים. שיהיה לך ערב טוב.
ולך שלומי.
אתה מאמין לזה?
אני מאמין לזה. כן,
וואלה, יום אחד ניפגש.
יכול מאוד להיות.
שמע, אני בן זונם, אני לא ממהר. ואני מאחל לך רק טוב.
בהצלחה, רק טוב. ט"ו באב שמח.
וואלה, אני אגיד לך את האמת,
כן?
ילדות של פעם. ברחתי בכלל מבית, היה שם צרות, באתי לפה, אני עולה לשם. לא סתם נפגשנו בקיצור.
אז יאללה, לילה של דברים נדירים, שלומי. לילה של דברים נדירים.
לילה של כוכבים. אנחנו צריכים לעשות משהו. לאכול איזה קרטון, תעשה קצת בלונים. תפעיל קצת את השכל. תתחיל לרקוד, להנדס.
לרקוד זה כיף. לרקוד אני אוהב. ולך, רק טוב. Okay. I'm gonna head home. You're coming with me. So that was quite an experience I just had. Quite an experience. This guy passing by, he was like, I saw you sitting down on the ground. I had to come and see what the hell are you and who the hell are you and what it is that you're doing. So we had a nice, pleasant conversation. He's evidently maybe a little bit high on something, by his own admission, not because I'm guessing. But we just had a lovely conversation, and he said, I'm never ever the type of guy who would ever stop randomly on the street and talk to anybody ever. I've never done this before, but something about you just sitting there in the middle of that wooded area. I was like thinking to myself, he said, who the hell is this guy? What the hell is this deal? What is he doing? Who is he? What is this? What am I looking at? He could not comprehend. He was like, if people paid me all of the money in the world, I would never do what you're doing right now. I would never be able to just sit down in the middle of a wooded area at 11 at night and do what you're doing right now. It was like incomprehensible to him how it is that I'm doing what I'm doing. It was interesting. Be careful though, you never know if someone recognizes you. I hope you are armed. Or not, right now I'm not armed. I actually don't have my... I left with my other pair of pants. So I don't have my Leatherman with me. And I can have a license to carry a weapon, a gun, a pistol. But I don't have one. So if I ever do want to get one, I can, but I do not have one. Okay, let's continue. Hey, Lubricator is here. How you doing? I love your hair and vibes. Thanks, man. I appreciate that, Ashley. So yeah, it was... now, this is not the first individual to stop me on the street and say, what the hell's going on? Who are you and what is it that you're doing in this life? Although it has not happened in a while. And this guy that I was just speaking to for like 20 minutes, was it something like 20 minutes? He seems quite a character. He said he's going to take me partying. I said, I'm not much of a party person. He said, don't worry about it. I'll get you to a party. I'll put a couple of tabs on your tongue. Everything will be great. I said, I don't think if I'm taking a couple of tabs, I don't think that I would want to be in a party. I don't know if the vibe would be right. I'm more of a close friend circle or, alone in silent darkness or with individual, but who knows? I am not much of a party animal. All right, people, it's been almost, 2.5 hours. This has been highly educational and certainly something that has never happened before with someone stopping me on a live stream randomly that way. But it was quite an experience, and I enjoy having it, and I enjoy that he had it. He was completely blown away, and he told me, I don't want to take your number, I don't want you to take my number, because I don't want it to be like, yeah, let's get together sometime. But he said, you and I, we need to get together, he just told me before. He said, we need to do some stuff. He said, we need to get together, and it's like, okay, if we're meant to get together, then we will. We didn't exchange any information, any numbers. He didn't want my digits. I told him maybe YouTube. He said, nah. So if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But it was certainly, even if I never see that person ever again in my life, it was still quite a thing to do. And unlike this, which is digital, That was just in your face, right there, person to person. I've never met him before, he never met me before, but we were both born, we had the same birthday. 2 years apart, but the same birthday. And he was like, oh man, that must be what called me to you. I don't know, it was interesting what just happened there. So I'm going to say goodbye and good night. This was lovely. Be blessed, be a blessing to others, be the light in other people's lives. God willing, I will see you tomorrow for another live stream where the wonders never cease. If I missed you in the chat, and I know I missed a lot of chats, hit me up in the comments or in the DMs. Hebrew Nazarite across the board. Whoever you are, wherever you are, have a wonderful, bountiful, beautiful full moon and 15th of Av. It is a special day with special things. Connections are happening. And if judging by the kind of encounter that I just had with that gentleman, it's going to be a good night. A bountiful night. A night of making connections. God willing, may it be so. Until then, peace and love from Jerusalem. Bye.